93.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
It's Kevin and Query.
I throw, you catch. It's not that hard, okay? All right, get the out of here.
I'm going to talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it!
On 93.5
Watch it!
and 107.5.
Boom, baby!
The Fan.
Kevin, I think we're a week away, I think, from 7 months, right? Doing the show? 7 months? Is that right?
I feel like it's been a little longer. Well,
it certainly feels
Well, yeah, dog years, honestly. November? Was that when you...
I think that's right?
October, November.
So, one thing that I hope both of you guys know about me, I'm a humble dude, right?
Oh, yeah, jeez.
Like, I don't
pull out the Webster's Dictionary, look up humble, and oh boy, is that Jake's freshman ID picture from Kansas?
Well, that's okay. That might have been a little bit, but I'm not one that typically would start off the show on a glorious looking Friday where the sun is shining brightly and it looks like it's going to be a great weekend to kick off the weekend. I wouldn't typically start off a show by saying, I called that one, right?
I like me some me.
I love me some me, man.
Yeah. Congrats to your Celtics. Jake, I almost went to bed.
I'm with you. I mean, when it was like...
They got up 15.
Yeah, when it was 15, I actually said, I'm like, this game's over.
This is vintage Golden State,
Yeah.
The third quarter. You felt like, all right, regroup. Jason Tatum looks like he's never felt that type of pressure in the finals, and... It's just such a cliche word that coaches use, Jake, but Boston has defined it all playoff long. They are freaking resilient as hell.
Yeah. And they just have, the thing about Boston, I think that makes them so good is if you look at Golden State, how many guys does Golden State have on their roster that can catch lightning in a bottle? Where you're like, whoa. I mean,
Yeah.
they certainly have two of them, right?
I know where you're going with this. Boston puts 5 threats on the floor all game long.
Correct.
And Golden State just has some offensive guys that don't want it or certainly can't. They don't have a Derek White or a Horford where last night Tatum, again, I had never seen Tatum look that shaky. And I think Tatum is one of the most gifted offensive players, frankly, I've seen. And with how just uneasy and wide open looks he's missing, and Smart and Jaylen Brown certainly had their moments. But, Jake, they go on the road. They get down 15 in the second half. Their best score is not being their catalyst at all. And yet here comes Derek White and Al Horford that totally change the complexion of that game. And as we know, when you can steal game one, the first time it's happened in the finals since 2013 for a road team, boy, you are looking very smart right now.
And I'm telling you, I feel like, as I said yesterday, it just always feels like in the finals, whenever a team has had kind of a layoff, that a road team comes in and steals game one.
That's the first time since 2013, Jake.
I know, or just in big playoff series maybe, but I'm telling you, and this is not going to happen in this series, but then all of a sudden, Golden State wins in 5. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's going to happen here. I do think Boston's going to win the series, but I don't think it's going to be... they're not going to go back to Boston up 2-0. I can tell you that much.
I said to you yesterday, my worry for Boston, especially in game one, is you just cannot simulate and replicate what it's like to defend Golden State. And holy hell, in that first quarter, they treated Steph Curry like he was TJ McConnell.
Right.
You need to guard that dude, and you need to guard him at the volleyball line. And Curry was absolutely incredible in that first quarter. But last night was one for Brad Stevens as well, because from the Horford trade in the offseason, getting rid of Kemba Walker, that was a big deal. And then at the deadline this year, we brought it up on the show because it involved Romeo Langford, but they trade away Josh Richardson and Romeo Langford, and I believe a first-round pick for Derek White, who I know isn't like the most household name, but a few years ago he was on Team USA at the World Championships, and this is a guy that had some moments in San Antonio. And last night, Horford, 6 threes for him. Derek White hit 4 threes. I believe both were season high. I think Horford, that was a career high in threes. and Boston outscores Golden State 40-16 in the final quarter, and they go up 1-0.
Good morning to you, by the way. That is Kevin Bowen. My name is Jay Query. Mark Dykton is here as well. I don't know if he's had his cereal because he's mute usually.
Oh, I have.
What'd you have this morning?
Golden Grahams.
Nice.
How many
That's
do
a
you
good
have?
Friday choice.
That is a
That
good
is
choice.
Golden Grahams are great.
Yeah.
How many cereals do you have like in the hopper?
Well, I mean, when Kroger or Meijer or something has like the 5 for $5 deal,
Five
Sound
for
the
five.
alarms on the west side. Mark
Five for
Dykton.
five deal?
buy 5, save 5. You save $5. That's a deal, my friend.
Mark's like calling Ashley. Have you been to every Kroger on the west side? We need to go Brownsburg, Avon, Danville.
I'll let my
Seriously.
daughters pick. I'm like, pick one cereal between the three of you, and then I'm like, Daddy gets the other 4. Figure it out. So,
Jake, you know, you probably have a favorite player on the Celtics you don't even know about.
Juwan Morgan?
No, you see, he got in the game last night?
I have a favorite player that I don't know about.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Uh-huh. This player actually began his college basketball career at Notre Dame.
Okay.
He is on a 2-way contract for the Celtics. He has not been in the NBA throughout his post-college career, so he had another job post-college before becoming a 2-way player for the Celtics right now. What do you think his other job was?
Grocery store.
His name, by the way, is not to be confused with Colts quarterback Matt Ryan. His name is Matt Ryan.
Okay.
Grocery store. Mark, what job do you think this player had post-college before his NBA career that would make Jake, I'd say giddy?
Truck driver would be my other choice.
truck driver?
My two dream jobs. When I get fired from here, which, let's face it, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to move out to Wyoming into a small town and open my own IGA and just be the neighborhood grocer, or I'm going to be an over-the-road truck driver. Those are my two dream jobs.
I thought you can do like when Hy-Vee starts spreading out. Now that they're an IndyCar sponsor, you could manage a Hy-Vee.
That too. I mean, grocery stores are awesome, and then over-the-road trucker, one of those two things.
Well, that's limited my guesses now. I'm going to still say like marketing or something like that.
Oh, that's boring.
I know. I don't. He is truck
Worked
driver.
in a cigar store.
I wouldn't have
Matt
guessed.
Ryan at 6'7" was an asset to a local New York cemetery.
Oh, hell yes.
He was a landscaper at said cemetery, and his height helped him get up into the trees, is the story that I read. Very advantageous to utilize his height to, make the cemetery look presentable. And
do you think did he ever dig a grave?
I don't believe I read that in the story.
Did he exhume anybody?
Remove Christmas wreaths or put Christmas wreaths on, grave sites and
So his career came back from
things
the dead?
like that. So yeah, you could say that.
He exhumed his career. How about that?
Yeah, a sharpshooter for the Boston Celtics there. But yeah, Juwan Morgan gets in last night, 40-16 to get in the fourth quarter. Golden State outscored him by 14 in the third quarter, and I mean I was this close to going to bed. I was like, all right, I'll give it the start of the fourth quarter, and boom, right away. Bam, 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 7-0 run, timeout Steve Kerr, and you just felt like right then and there Golden State on the ropes. And Boston Jake, they got 5 threats on the floor at all time. Peyton Pritchard's a threat. Grant Williams, we saw what he did or has done throughout these playoffs as well. Whereas Golden State, it's like, Draymond, yes, he's so good, but offensively, God, watching him shoot, you want to cover your eyes. Looney keeps some balls alive, but still, they just don't have. Maybe I'm overreacting to game one, but I don't know if they've got enough offensive firepower. Really need Wiggins to step up.
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins is a nice player for sure. Wiggins is an interesting guy because he goes back to, Kevin, my kind of theory or thing that I've always said about oftentimes the player that you are or the way that you're assessed is based on how and when you were acquired. Does Andrew Wiggins look like a number 1 overall draft pick? No, but he's a really nice player for Golden State because they're not the one that invested the number 1 overall pick to get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
It's a little bit of like the Ryan Tannehill moving on, top 10 pick.
Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Alex Smith is Alex Smith was a fine quarterback in the NFL and had a really good career, but not number 1 overall franchise pick player. You know what I mean? By the way, did we mention yesterday that one of the great careers in NFL history has come to a close?
Well, 2 great careers wrapped up yesterday.
Who's the other one? I know there's one. Hold on.
He'd be another Jake favorite, I would think.
2 of my top probably 7 or 8 favorite players in NFL history.
Did I miss the other one?
Probably.
I know Ryan Fitzpatrick is one.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, certainly. The other one...
Same position?
No, but ties to Indy.
Yeah, played for the Colts.
How did I miss this?
And I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I know some would disagree with me on that, but I think he is.
How long did he play? Did he start in Indy?
He did. Well, at that point, you were just like anybody but Trent Richardson.
Oh, hold on. Go ahead.
Francis Gore.
Oh, I thought that was already over.
1-day contract with the 49ers. He hangs it up. Do you think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer?
He's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's first ballot. I don't know that first ballot means as much as any sport that it does in baseball.
I think it should mean something. Like, I think that is kind of the...
This is the interesting...
The Hall of Fame of the Hall of Fame, if you will.
Let me tell you the interesting contradiction with the career of Frank Gore. Typically, and I'll call this the Harold Baines rule, there are some guys that get into the Hall of Fame based on longevity because they play for so long that people are like, yeah, well, they're there because they just played forever and they were a really good player. They were never great, but they were really good for a long time. Frank Gore's longevity is what cemented him as a running back, cemented him as a Hall of Famer, excuse me. But his longevity, Kevin, almost causes people to forget that for the first 40% of that, he was one of the 3 best running backs in the NFL. I mean, I think people forget he was, partially because he was out in San Francisco where a lot of people didn't see him a lot. He was an elite level player for a very long time and then coasted his way into being a very good player and then a good player for the back half of his career. He was serviceable all the way until the end.
The knock is he didn't have enough of the elite all-pro type, 2,000-yard seasons. But where I would argue, Jake, he did it here at what, age 33? Yes, he ran for 1,000 yards?
I know.
In present-day NFL, no running back that old is running for 1,000 yards. I mean, look at Todd Gurley's career flaming out. Or, I mean, hell, you're seeing it here with Philip Lindsay, a couple 1,000-yard seasons to start his career, and now he can't even find a spot on a roster and is competing for a roster spot with the Colts. At that position, to me, longevity and consistency just supersedes so much. If you put Frank Gore's stats and tell me he played safety, defensive end, I wouldn't say first ballot Hall of Famer. But because it's running back and he defied the odds for so long, I think he's a first balloter.
He's a great player. There's no doubt about it. And has seemingly always been a good player, good teammate. I mean, Kevin, you were probably around him more than I, but seemed like a guy that the rest of the locker room liked and didn't have, was pretty low maintenance.
Yeah, he got it. Frankly, he got it. Ryan Fitzpatrick, how much money over 17 years?
Excellent question. I'm going to say that Ryan Fitzpatrick netted $138 million. I was
kind of surprised by this number. Mark?
What was your guess?
I was probably a little high. I said 138. I'm thinking there had to be a couple of $5 to $8 million years in there, right?
Yeah.
I probably should have adjusted more to about 81 million.
I was going to say, I thought I would say he'd be in the 80s.
17 seasons, by the way.
But he's never been he was never like a top
I'll go
5.
with 81. I'm going to stick at 81.
I'll say 95.
Gosh, man. Wouldn't you have loved to have guessed that first? 82. That's the thing. It was just a bunch of one-year deals pretty much throughout his career.
But a good player. Actually, I had a conversation with...
he went to Harvard?
Oh, yeah. Rick Venturi and I
was kidding. I was like...
yeah, because they mentioned it every single time.
Mo Alley Cox played basketball at VCU.
Right. Rick Venturi and I were in St. Pete before the St. Pete race a couple of years ago, and we were just talking football, and we were talking at some point along the way in both of their circuitous travels, they crossed paths. And Rick Venturi told me, he's like, if I was a head coach, he's like, I'd feel like I could win a game with Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with him going out there and
he was probably
just trying to win for you
in his mid-30s than anything. That was probably when he reached his peak, if you will. He started against the Colts 10 times. He started for 6 different teams against the Colts. Care to make a guess on those 6 teams?
Okay, you ready? Now, this is a fun game. The 6 teams that Ryan Fitzpatrick started for when he played against the Colts. The Tennessee Titans. The Buffalo Bills. Stand by, thinking.
Twice each with those teams, so there's 4 of the 10 games.
The Houston Texans.
2 starts of the Texans against the Colts.
The Miami Dolphins.
The Dolphins, 1 game.
So I got 2 left. This
left.
would be remarkable if I run this table. I'll resign right now, and that'll be it. Elijah is your new co-host.
I have never wanted you to get a trivia question right more in your life.
Okay,
Mark, can you slip him a piece of paper to help him out here?
All right, stand by. I'm going to go with...
I'd say one's pretty obvious. The other one, I'd be very impressed and very happy.
The New York Jets.
Yeah, I thought that was the obvious one. I think that's you remember him the most with the Jets, right?
God, I don't know, man. He played for everybody.
I feel like that was his best football. Didn't he lead him like a 10-win season one year? And the last team.
Is it an NFC team?
Well, he did play for a couple NFC teams. Mostly in the AFC, though.
Hang on. Thinking hard here, racking my brain. I'm going through the... Mark, you want to offer me any assistance while I'm filibustering?
This is like you're a 4 out of 5 on the pop quiz so far, so I can't give you hints.
I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I thought this would be surprising. Mark, you got a guess?
NFC team?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Well, now you tell me.
Well,
I was limiting my options.
You already
here.
used up your
guess.
Okay,
hang on.
I don't even remember him as a player for this team.
Okay, hold on. I'm racking through my brain of the other AFC teams, and I can't remember him.
I believe if this was going on during the pop quiz, you would utter the phrase, the show ends at 10.
I am honing in on, for just basically lack of options, the Baltimore Ravens.
Gosh, he played 2 years for this team.
Chiefs?
Cincinnati.
Yeah, no recollection of that.
2007 and 8. Started 12 games for them in 2008. Was that post Carson Palmer?
You know who? Okay,
Man, I don't remember that at all.
So here's a question for you. Now that Ryan Fitzpatrick has hung it up, who is the new Ryan Fitzpatrick? Who's the quarterback that like constantly signs like 2-year deals, starts 9 games?
Are any of them the McCowns still around?
I think Josh finally retired. So
I'll give you another one.
Wasn't it during COVID, Josh would like coach his high school team, and then they're like, if we need him, we'll fly him in.
Case Keenum comes to mind for me.
How about Josh Johnson? Remember the guy that tore up the Colts last year on Thursday Night Football for the Jets?
Yeah.
He was Matt Hasselbeck's backup here in Indy for those 2 games back in whatever that was, 2015, when Luck missed time. So, did I see Amazon for Ryan Fitzpatrick? He's going to be on that broadcast?
That's the rumor.
He's going to work there? I thought you meant he's going to work there.
He probably could.
He's a picker at Amazon.
Yeah, CMO of Amazon there. Colin says Nick Foles is the next Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
been on 6 so far.
Foles?
Yeah.
This from our executive producer, Todd Meyer. I wouldn't use the word coasted in describing Frank Gore on anything. That's probably true. He's
a tough insert Santino Ferrucci word here.
7 teams for Nick Foles. Now he's with the Colts, actually. 7. So he's getting there.
A little bit of Lance Stephenson news to get to as well. Scott Agnes.
Frank Gore is like straight ahead, full throttle all the time. That's a good point.
Scott Agnes had some news last night on Lance. Again, a free agent coming up this season. We'll hit on. We really didn't touch on the Kenny Moore financial situation yesterday when we were talking about OTAs. If he indeed sits out minicamp next week, we'll explain how much he could miss on that. But yes, credit to Jake on the Game 1 call of the Boston Celtics there. Out west, the Avalanche go up 2-0 So you're probably happy, right? Because you hate the Oilers now that they ousted your Flames.
It's just been difficult for me to watch. I'm still
finding the channel or
no, finding the emotion.
Got it.
There's just so much what could have been. But I told you though, 23 is the year. I mean, the tattoo has 23 on it.
And Alexander Rossi to Arrow McLaren. That is official. That was announced, I think, just after the show ended yesterday. We'll get Jake's thoughts on that, what exactly that means for them. As Jake heads to Detroit this afternoon, it will be Belle Isle, the final year.
Bringing back plenty of ketchup potato chips for you guys.
Again, I'm looking forward to that.
And some Roots maple mints for you.
Like maple as in the Canadian flag?
The Roots clothing store, which is 90% of my wardrobe and the greatest clothing store ever, only available in Canada. They sell little mints at the register. They have maple flavor and then they have blueberry maple flavor. So it's like pancakes and a mint. They are so good.
Should be a gorgeous weekend for you up there.
It's going to be gorgeous with my maple mints. I can tell you that much. Yeah, it's supposed to be nice.
He's Jae Crowder. I'm Kevin Bowen. Mark Dykton, as always, looks like a beautiful Friday morning. A little bit different than Carb Day last Friday. You're listening to Kevin Aquari right here, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Everybody needs a man cave.
Ours just happens to be a little bigger than most.
All right. Let's not go there. Let's just invite them to our place.
We're getting together for a night in the Fan Cave, brought to you by Forum Credit Union on June 23rd. We'll chat about sports, tell lies, and talk smack.
We'll start the evening down in the Larceny Lounge with munchies, beer, and plenty of Larceny and Evan Williams bourbon.
This is going to be a heck of a party and a show rolled into one.
Tickets are on sale now at 1075thefan.com.
Wendy's Biggie Bag is just $5. Get your choice of a double stack junior bacon cheeseburger or crispy chicken BLT plus 4-piece nugs, small fries, and a small drink, all for $5. U.S. price and participation may vary.
The housing market has started to cool, but inventory is still low and homes are selling fast. We need to get you pre-approved today. TheHomeLoanExpert.com. NMLS number 1326241.
This Sunday, the streets of Belle Isle, the IndyCar Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. On 93.5, 107.5, The Fan at 3 p.m. Coverage brought to you by the Speedrome and Circle City Raceway.
Circle K is America's thirst stop. And yours, especially when the weather gets... and you need to stay refreshed on the go with ice-cold Circle K favorites like freshly ground iced coffee, Froster, Polar Pop Cup, and more. Think of it as the ultimate thirst-quenching, totally rehydrating summer splash zone. When life's go, 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 make us your first stop. Because Circle K is America's thirst stop.
The Morning Checkdown. Omaha! Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Relieving your joint pain at QCkinetics.com. On 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Jake, 120-108 last night. The Boston Celtics with the fourth quarter, frankly, of a lifetime. They outscore Golden State 40-16 in the fourth quarter. They come back from down 15 in the third, and they take game one. Steph Curry afterwards on dropping game one.
You know, when you have a team that just finds a little bit of momentum like they did, and they keep making shots, it's tough to kind of regain that momentum. And the guys that are making shots, obviously Al, Marcus, Derek White, Jalen early in the fourth, they play well. So we know they're a good team. So are we. We got to respond on Sunday.
Game 2 back in the Bay Area on Sunday. Major League Baseball yesterday, the Washington Nationals, I should say, short end because they played the hottest team in baseball. Cincinnati Reds 8-1 winners over the Nats. Elsewhere, it was the Cubs 7-5 over the Cardinals. Mark, that had to please you, right?
Yes, sir.
Cubs are starting to play some good ball. Mm-hmm. Better ball.
Break them up. Brewers over the Padres 5-4. Braves over the Rockies 13-6. Dodgers over the Mets 2-0. Yankees over the Angels in a doubleheader. They swept them 6-2. 2-1. Indianapolis Indians short end 4-1 against the Omaha Storm Chasers.
Jake, it'll be Belle Isle on Sunday. Marcus Erickson and Pato Award, the two winners there last year. Just one race this year. Some pretty cool views at Belle Isle, right?
Yeah, it's a cool venue. Belle Isle, for those that don't know, is an island in the Detroit River that lies between, believe it or not, it's the only area of the United States where Canada is south of the U.S. So Belle Isle sits between Windsor and Detroit in the middle of the Detroit River. And it's a very physical racetrack, and by that I mean lots of bumps, lots of different pavements that they go around. So it's not an easy track at all, and you got to kind of hold on for dear life over the course of it. But just one race, typically doubleheader, just Sunday, 3 o'clock.
And we'll have Santino Ferrucci in the car, our favorite from earlier in the week. He will be in the Juncos Racing car for Callum Ilott, who broke his hand in a crash at the Indy 500. If you watch that replay, you'll see him get out of the car and shake that right hand of his. So practice late today, qualifying tomorrow around lunchtime, and then the race, as Jake said, in the 3 o'clock hour on Sunday.
Mark, give us There's your swoosh. Do we have another subject matter?
Well, I want to give a shout out. Did you see who was in the final of the Women's French Open?
Final of the Women's French Open.
Yeah. 18-year-old American Coco Gauff.
Boy, she's been on the radar for like 3 or 4 years here.
Right? I couldn't believe when they're like, wait, she's only 18?
She's the Freddie Adu of women's tennis, right?
Well, give her a little bit more credit.
I know, but I'm saying
than that, yeah.
Was on the radar at a very young age.
Has not lost a set all French Open long. She is the youngest woman to make a Grand Slam final since...
Youngest woman to make a Grand Slam final since... See, I'm going to show my age. I would go with Jennifer Capriati, but that's 30 years ago.
How about Sharapova?
Really?
Maria Sharapova in 2004 at 17 years of age. So Coco is playing the number one woman in the world. Boy, I guess I have to try and pronounce it. We'll go with Iga Swiatek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
That sounded great to me.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. So that will be the women's final. That will be on Saturday there.
By the way, Saturday, that is tomorrow, and Sunday at my alma mater, North Central High School, which is at 1801 East 86th Street.
Hail your Panthers.
That's right. Saturday, 8:30, 11, and 2 o'clock. So the majority of the day on Saturday, and then Sunday beginning at 8 a.m. It is the 21st annual Indy Thunder Beat Ball Bonanza. Beat Ball is actually really fun to watch. It is baseball for the visually impaired, for anybody really, but they wear masks to create an equal vision balance. But it's a lot of fun to watch. I enjoy watching it. And if you were looking for some inexpensive entertainment on a gorgeous weekend,
gorgeous
Central
weekend.
High School.
Love it. They're going to have great weather there. And then quickly we'll mention the NHL. Again, the Avalanche go up 2-0 in the Western Conference Series. Low scoring last night compared to what we've had. Just 2 goals in that game. They beat the Oilers. Tonight it'll be the Rangers and the Lightning in Game 2. I'm sure Jake is itching to get up to Detroit so he can head to his Rangers bar and get up close to watch his Eastern Conference team.
Okay. When we come back, Lance Stephenson speaks. What's that mean for his future with the Pacers? And as Kevin was discussing, Kenny Moore might be in for some fines. So you're going to be fine with that? We'll get into it. We'll explain next. Kevin Aquari.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
Annapolis. At Geico, our employees' careers matter to us.
An inclusive office matters to me.
We hear you, Kelly. Geico has employee resource groups to bring people from all communities together because diversity matters. Your hopes and dreams matter. Even giving you a little space, your lucky bobblehead matters.
Want to work at Geico, Randy? He says yes.
When it comes to your career, what matters to you matters to Geico. We're now hiring claims, sales, and customer service agents. Apply today at careers.geico.com/Indianapolis and let's get growing.
Hey, it's JMV for the absolute best in realty. Mark Deedle Realty. 317-755-4232. That's 317-755-4232. Online, markdeedle.com. That's markdeedl.com. Today. So let's talk about Chris from Noblesville. They were ready to upgrade to a newly built home. They hired Mark Deedle and asked him to maximize the current home price so they could afford their new home. Mark gave them a plan to get the most money possible, and he pushed the price hard to get them $15,000 over a high asking price and plenty of time to get into their new home. Mark Deedle has a guarantee for you. Multiple offers on your home in 3 days, or he is going to list it for free. That's Mark Deedle Realty, 317-755-4232, 317-755-4232. MarkDeedle.com. That's MarkDietel.com today.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Jake, we had Scott Agnes on yesterday, and late last night he reported that Lance Stephenson had off-season knee surgery, right knee there, to quote Agnes, to remove a few loose particles, and he's already back on the floor shooting, so it doesn't sound like anything too serious. But Lance is a free agent at the age of 31. Agnes also mentioned in the story there's mutual interest for a re-sign of Lance Stephenson. Your thoughts on that?
I think Lance Stephenson has a place here. I think that Stephenson is an interesting guy because clearly it works for him in Indiana more than it does elsewhere. And so long as Lance Stephenson knows what his expectation or ceiling is, like when he came back and had that incredible night in his first game back, and people were like, holy cow. I mean,
how about that? I forgot about that first quarter.
It was amazing, right?
It was Steph Curry last night.
But in reality, he is, a good energy guy off the bench, spot minutes guy, truth be told. If you are relying on him at this point to be your catalyst, you're probably not very good, quite frankly. But there is something about Indiana for Lance Stephenson that makes it work. Again, credit to Alex Golden. He was the one that conducted the interview. But here's Lance Stephenson on why it works more with Indiana than elsewhere.
I don't know. I just feel like the Pacers believe in me. They keep coming back, and it's a blessing. This time I feel like it was more of a blessing coming back and helping the young guys, helping the team get better, and just having a chance to go out there and have fun.
How humble do you think Lance has been? Because if you re-sign him, Jake, the hope is you won't need him as much as you needed him last year.
Right.
And the hope is, honestly, that he probably turns into, it might be too harsh to label him like this right now, but you hope that he's kind of the next Dale Armstrong, Udonis Haslem for you. Like, you don't want Lance to see the floor as much as he saw last season. And the injuries to Brogdon, the injuries to TJ McConnell as well, no Edmund Sumner, those things I think opened up minutes for Lance. And I'm just curious, can he be accepting of a role where he's maybe the 10th or 11th guy, and he's not getting minutes night in and night out?
I think he can here, and I'll tell you why. When Stephenson was entering the NBA draft, he was a prodigy out of Cincinnati, more so out of Coney Island.
God, he was prodigy is probably an understatement.
Yeah, he was a legendary, and one street baller type reputation.
Documentaries on him.
But and New York had 2 picks right before the Pacers drafted. And I do think there was conversation between Donnie Walsh, who was in New York at the time, and Larry Bird in Indiana about Stephenson, where he would fit in. And I think there was hesitation to draft him in New York. Well, clearly there was because they bypassed on him. They went with Andy Routens and Landry Fields over Lance Stephenson, second-round picks. And I think that was because the thought was there that Stephenson would have been too distracted and was too immature to be playing at home in New York. And there would have been too much pressure to play him, etc. So when he came to Indiana and the Pacers let him kind of flourish, and then the Pacers offered him a second big contract, but Stephenson, and I understand why he did this, he went to the Hornets for less money annually, and people thought he was crazy. They might have anyway. Because I don't remember the years, but I believe it was Indiana offered him a 4-year deal.
I think it was 4 and 5 were the years.
Okay, so Charlotte offered him 4 years. The Pacers offered him 5. But after the 4th year, I thought it was 3 and 4, but that's kind of
Maybe
regardless.
right, yeah.
That's kind of regardless, but or irrelevant. Point being, Charlotte offered him fewer years, and it seemingly was a less valued contract, except for that it would have expired in the year that everyone knew was the new TV money year, which is the big bank deposit. And that's the year that you want to be a free agent because there's all the money in the hopper and teams are just throwing money around. Brian Cardinal gets $8 million a year because of a TV contract year.
Jan Mahimi's getting Yeah.
Exactly. Case in point, right? So
like
he wanted to be in on that derby as opposed to a year after that. So he took a gamble on himself and his play dipped. I think because he went to Charlotte and it didn't work, he had to go out of the country, come back. I do think, Kevin, that if Indiana says to Lance Stephenson, we only need you for 12 minutes a night, Indiana can say that to him and he will believe it and trust it. Whereas other franchises, when he goes there is a Lance Stephenson, one thing about him that is a very endearing quality is there is a level of naivete about him, or I'm going to say immaturity for lack of a better phrase, but there is a level of trust that he has in the Pacers organization that he doesn't have with any other, because he knows here that Indiana has never displayed to him anything other than his best interest. So he trusts what they say to him. He doesn't trust Dallas. He doesn't trust Utah. He doesn't trust Memphis. I'm just throwing names out.
Right.
But I think he trusts Indiana. So if they say to him, Lance, at this point in your career, you're a 12 to 15 minute guy, and you can help us in that regard, he listens to that and says, okay, I'm down with that because you've never steered me wrong.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. You know, part of me does think Jake, and I don't know, I'm thinking back to my dad telling me the story of Lance wearing the Lance t-shirt to the Apple store.
It's the best.
A couple weeks ago. You're never going to completely take the Lance out of Lance, if that makes sense. Like, you can never fully do that. We watch him play, and we saw it this year. The bit of the circus act is always going to be there. But I'll give him major credit for how he handled that first 10-day contract this past season. Because think about it, Jake. That might have been the final NBA opportunity for Lance Stephenson. The Pacers are in a dire situation in their backcourt. I think they had COVID issues along with injury issues at that time. And here comes Lance on a 10-day contract. And if it weren't for Indiana, the place where he has had his finest moments by far as an NBA player, he probably doesn't get another shot. I mean, he wasn't very good in Atlanta. Wasn't he with the Hawks on a 10-day before coming here?
He's been a million places, yeah.
And it just seemed like that's a lot of pressure on a dude to have one final shot at it, or else if you want to keep on playing, you're going to have to go overseas. So I don't know if I'm staying on the table to bring him back. If you can make it work, sure. But it does sound like, based off Scott Agnes's report there, that there is mutual interest in a re-sign. So your free agents, TJ Warren, again, you treat him like Paris Campbell. You don't bring him back with any sort of guarantee there. And those are the big ones, right? Who else am I missing? Oh, Jalen Smith, of course, but that's partly out of your control.
I mean, man, wouldn't it be great, though?
Largely out of your control there. Yeah, you got to make the recruiting pitch, as I've said before, with Jalen Smith there. I keep on coming back to how young he is. He's younger than Keegan Murray. I mean, if you can re-sign Jalen Smith, it's another lottery pick. Which, when you put in that light, God, I think it's such a monumental piece to this offseason puzzle. I guess speaking of contracts, Jake, the Kenny Moore situation, we're going to find out Tuesday. That is the first mandatory day of the offseason here in the spring. And if he gets fined, or if he misses that day, the Colts can fine him per the collective bargaining agreement. The numbers for the fines, again, it's a 3-day minicamp next week. $15,515 on day one, $31,030 on day two, $46,540 on day three. You add that up, it's about $93,000 that Kenny Moore could be fined next week. Making about $6 or $7 million per year, Kenny Moore. So certainly it's not, uber significant. It's also not, changing the couch either.
Listen, the Colts have all the leverage here. I mean, just keep fining him. If you're Kenny Moore, eventually, don't you have to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I
don't see the Colts budging. And I guess two reasons why. I would say the biggest reason is Kenny Moore thinks he deserves a new contract with 2 years left on his deal. Jake, it is so rare in the NFL, especially for non-quarterbacks or really quarterbacks, I would say, for a team to rip up a contract with 2 years left, especially the contract that they gave him. This regime, Chris Ballard, gave him that last contract. It's not like that was a Ryan Grigson contract where all of a sudden Ballard's like, no, that wasn't us. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to rip that up because we didn't have anything to do with that contract. That was a Ballard contract. And if you're Chris Ballard, as maybe snarky as it sounds, Jake, you probably look at Kenny Moore and you say, Kenny, you decided to fire the agent that you previously had that helped organize or helped construct that 4-year deal, correct? And Kenny says yes. He goes, well, you fired him for a reason because you didn't like that 4-year deal, and that's just kind of part of life. I mean, the Colts, when they screw up deals, sometimes they got to live with it. And, I don't know if the Colts will be that snarky with them, but I think that's the leverage point that they can come from. In a more cordial way, maybe you can sit down with them and say, you're going to have to play this year out, and if you play well, we will reward you like we did in the previous contract extension, like we've done with other guys, and do it in a more of a normal timeline. Again, 2 years left on a deal. Boy, that is just it's really rare to do, and it would set a very awkward precedent.
I go back to this. I don't know that this is an ugly enough situation that we start talking about finger pointing of who's to blame. But in this case, I think it's both. I think Kenny Moore's a little to blame because, quite frankly, I'm a believer in you sign a contract. I get it. Players can be released at any time with I get it. But I also kind of blame the Colts because you know what? After he got named to the Pro Bowl, Kevin, and Hard Knocks, the whole theme was like, look at how the team is rallying around and they love Kenny Moore, and Frank Reich is getting choked up announcing that he's a Pro Bowler, and the whole team jumped around him. And after that, he sucked, quite frankly. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Once he was named a Pro Bowler, what did he do? Once the franchise put him on TV and singled him out as the guy that was the most beloved player in the locker room and featured it for the world to see what a great story he was, and the coach is getting choked up how much he loves him. After that, he sucked.
Yeah, he's not walking in there with a great, recent, lasting impression.
Right. And listen, I like him. I mean, and hey, he's been a huge IndyCar advocate. I get it, but
2 games doesn't define it for me. But
it doesn't. But
I understand where you're coming from. I certainly do. In the game's most critical moments,
I'm obviously filling this with hyperbole, but rationally speaking, I would simply say this, and that is, there is not evidence that he is able to sustain his level of play once it is recognized and he got accolades for it. Now, I think we both know that that's a little absurd to say because it's a small sample of work. But the reality is the sample that was provided was negative. Since he got accolades and got named and got put on a pedestal, his play dipped.
Do you think he took this kind of holdout? And again, I say holdout in quotes. We're still in the voluntary part of the offseason. That ends starting on Tuesday, like I said. Do you think his team, his agency, and him took it to another level by not showing up this week? He was at practice last Wednesday. He was there. He was present. This week, he wasn't there when we were out there. Do you think there's any part of his team and his agency saying, oh, all the chatter last week was about how friendly of a holdout this is, how cordial of a holdout this is?
We'll show you.
Yeah. Do you think that was some of it?
Probably, quite frankly.
If you were the Colts and he did not show up, would you fine him? Teams don't have to fine him.
Yes, I would. Partially because I want to set an example, right? Whether that's fair or not, I'd want to set an example.
I just can't even comprehend what $93,000 means to him. Can you imagine not showing up for 3 days of work for $93,000?
I would like to.
Right.
If that didn't hurt me, sure.
Yeah, exactly. God, that is just a different
That would be nice.
Different world. Jeremiah Johnson's going to join us at 8:30 to talk a little bit more of this Lance Stephenson Pacers as well. And game 1 last night, I continue to go back to Jake, Jason Tatum is nowhere to be found. He's lost. From a scoring standpoint, what do you have? 12 assists, 13 assists. But he couldn't throw it in the ocean. And they're down 15, and yet they still find a way.
Yeah, I know. Told you, man.
You know they're 8-2 on the road this year in the playoffs?
Teams always steal a game one on the road.
But doing it it's not like they did it, Jake, and Jason Tatum had 45.
They flipped the switch, man.
They did it with Derek White and Al Horford. Not even their 1, not even their 2, not even their 3. I mean, obviously Derek White and Al Horford are pretty good 4 and 5s, if you want to list it like that. But to do that on the road, damn impressive by the Celtics last night, as they have a fourth quarter for the ages in beating the Warriors in game 1. It is time for a Mark Dykton. I gotta know.
He's got questions.
How about a game?
They've got answers.
Hey, I'm more of a cornhole man myself.
Sports, music, movies. What? High fashion.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
And everything in between.
You ever seen a foot with 4 toes?
It's time to get a glimpse into the mind of Mark Dykton.
Stop it, you're scaring me.
It's time for I Gotta Know on Kevin and Query.
Okay, you two punks, I want a good, clean fight. Let's get it on.
Twice in 1 week. That's most married couples. All right, boys.
No
Caleb in the chat. I'm yielding this question to you. He might have the most important question in the show's history.
Oh, boy.
Is cheesecake a pie?
No.
Wait. Is cheesecake a pie?
Yes.
It's not called cheese pie.
That's true.
Cheesecake is not a pie because, in my opinion, whether it is true or not, a pie is a dessert delicacy whose interior is of a different consistency and material than the outer shell.
God, Emerald Lagasse over here breaking it down.
Cheesecake's all the same. It's just a bunch of stuff put into a round formation, like cake. A pie has a different interior than what the crust is holding in.
Is the round aspect a key element? Are all pies round? I mean, a pie is a round shape, right? Are all cheesecakes round?
I think all pies are 3.14 of something, right?
Are all cheesecakes round?
I mean, I don't think I've seen one that isn't round.
I'm not a cheesecake guy.
Do you put the cheesecake in a pie tin when you're making it?
See, that's what I don't know.
I've never made a cheesecake before.
Yeah. I'm not a big cheesecake guy either, actually.
Yeah, I don't.
You know who apparently was? Vince Young. When he was at the Titans, remember they said when he went bankrupt, he was spending $32,000 a week at Cheesecake Factory.
I got nervous there was a joke in there.
No, I'm being totally serious. That was part of his...
Well, have you seen the menu? If you want to get through the whole Cheesecake Factory menu, like you got to spend that much.
It's like the Shanghai phone book. It's like...
Bring your glasses, too, because it's dark in there usually.
Yeah, Caleb, I would say a cheesecake is not a pie.
Okay.
I hate to side with Jake, but I will.
I think that's put into law now. The Jake and Kevin stamp of approval.
Boom. Put it in.
All right. Will Jonathan Taylor be the league's leading rusher this season? And do you see any other Colt leading the league in any statistical category?
Derrick Henry will lead the league in rushing, assuming that he stays healthy, partially because A.J. Brown is no longer there, and Derrick Henry is an absolute beast. Jonathan Taylor will be second.
I think Taylor will lead the league again. I just think his durability is remarkable. So I will say yes. You know, as far as leading the league in other areas, I mean, Leonard with turnovers, but boy, that ankle, it's just kind of weird. I can't commit to that right now. No one else jumps off the page. I mean, if Aaron Donald does hang it up, you know, could DeForest Buckner lead, you know, kind of interior defensive lineman in sacks? I mean, that would do wonders for this football team if that's the case. Yeah, I don't see interceptions. I don't see anybody kind of leading the league in that area. So I would say just Taylor.
Okay. ESPN's latest NBA mock draft had the Pacers taking Dyson Daniels from the G League Ignite. How do you think that would go over with the fan base if that's the pick?
Good vacuum sponsorship, is that right? That's right. People would boo. And by all accounts, Daniels is an extremely athletic, primarily His strength is on the defensive end of the floor. Jake, I think, and I know you can argue against it, the Pacers were horrific on defense last year. I think you need the go-to scorer late. To me, that's the guy that you have to try and find with this pick. I think you can find other defensive pieces in different ways. But then again, if you want to argue against that, just show me the teams that are left standing in the playoffs. They are the best defensive teams left. And look at how the Pacers defended last year and have defended in recent years. Their wing defense in particular is horrific.
I think Dyson Daniels is very similar to Tyrese Halliburton. I could be wrong on that. I haven't seen him play a lot. I'm just going by size. And
they're a much better defender.
But listen, outside of the top 4, so where the Pacers are drafting, I think anybody that they take is going to be met with skepticism. Maybe Keegan Murray gets a little bit more comfort level here from the fan base because they're familiar with his game. But when you look at everybody else that's around that area, AJ Griffin, okay, another Duke guy that, Mathurin from Arizona. I think people know he's a good player, but they don't know much about him. Johnny Davis.
On the AJ Griffin board. Isn't Johnny Davis a little bit too small?
I think Johnny Davis falls victim to the fact that there have been a lot of Wisconsin players that entered the draft that you thought were going to be good players, and they're just kind of there. I mean, whatever happened to Sam Decker?
Devin Harris.
Devin Harris is a good example.
And Johnny Davis just didn't shoot it that great from 3, which I think is necessary given his height.
Shaedon Sharpe is really intriguing, I'm telling you.
Sharpe and Mathurin.
Really intriguing. By the way, I have a question for you guys. I thought about this the other day.
Who are the G Leaguers that have made it, too? That kind of pops in. Jalen Green, I guess. Jonathan Kuminga.
I think the G League thing now, though, is going to become more prevalent. Although I don't know now with name, image, likeness, guys can get paid to go to Duke or Kentucky or whatever. I was thinking about this the other day when I was driving. Maybe I've asked you this one before. I apologize if I have. And it's a little bit harder to ask in today's era because people don't buy CDs and tapes and records anymore. I mean, you just download stuff. But who is the musician, who is the musical artist all time that you most enjoy, but yet you have never actually bought anything by them? You've never seen them in concert. You never bought a tape or a CD. You never downloaded an entire album. But when they come on, you're like, yeah, I like them.
Well, that's a good one.
Because the other day I was driving and a musician was playing, and I'm like, you know what? I actually really like this guy. Like, every one of his songs is good, but I've never seen him in concert, never bought anything by him. I've never claimed to be a fan, but deep down, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I like all his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Eminem fan, but I've never seen him perform. I don't know.
You are. What I'm saying is, you are outwardly an Eminem fan,
right? But I don't know, like the CD download. I mean, I hate to sound like I'm being young here, but
that's what I mean.
You just kind of get around.
Totally, I get that. So I guess the easier way to say it is the musical act that you had the epiphany of, like, you know what? I actually kind of like this performer, even though I've never had the conversation with anybody about the fact I like. They're just there, but I like them. Mark is thinking hard about it. Mine, in all honesty,
no one just pops immediately into my head. Who would be yours, Jake?
I'm going to show my age here, but I'm driving the other day and Bob Seger came on. And I'm like, you know what? Like, every time a Bob Seger song comes on, I turn it up. I get like a little toe tapping going.
I'd probably honestly do the same with Bob Seger.
I will tell you one that you guys are both going to laugh at. A couple of years ago, was at the State Fair. We get out of the car, and on the free stage, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that has to be like a cover band. On the free stage, and so completely serendipitously, with no plan to do so whatsoever, was like, we'll swing by and just see the show, and ended up staying for the majority of it, and it was an outstanding performance. Melissa Etheridge.
Okay.
Well, what's her big hit?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. Come to my window. I'm the only one.
I think it's the second one. I'm the only one.
And I overheard.
Did I overhear you correctly talk to Sean Copeland about how it's ironic that we play so many songs from 40 years ago?
Well, here's what I was saying. You did overhear that. What I was saying was this.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting point.
This is what fascinates me. In 1980, the other day, by the way, that music's driving me crazy, Mark.
Too bad. It's my segment.
This is the song that Mark thinks about when you say
21 questions.
One you really like.
The other day, I saw a thing that the song "It Takes Two" by DJ Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. Everybody knows that song. It takes two to make things go right. That the other day, it was the 34-year mark of the release of that song. I was a freshman in high school when that song came out. I remember it vividly. And then I was telling Sean Copeland, but in 1954, the number one song was, and I can't think of it with this thing playing in my head, but maybe Mr. Sandman. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. And I'm like, you could go into a bar right now, and the song "It Takes Two" would play overhead at some point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No one in 1988 was playing Mr. Sandman in a bar.
Well,
it was,
if you're a fan of Back to the Future.
Well, true. But it was old-timey music. Mm-hmm. And then I was saying, if you think about this, like I'm not saying people walk around blaring The Doors, but you can turn on a classic rock station right now in 2022 or walk into a restaurant and hear "Light My Fire" or "Riders on the Storm" overhead, and it's not totally out of place. But in 1970, when that song came out, you were 50 years removed from ragtime music and like polka stuff, which you didn't hear anywhere.
Do you think that's more of a technological thing? Like, it's so readily available to us to play that music, whereas back then it might not have
possible
been?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with this also. I think that there was so much evolution of musical taste and musical sound from that 50-year window that, like, there was such a breakthrough. And listen, the Doors, I know, like, people will tell you that lived back then were super cheesy and whatever else. But they had such a breakthrough sound that was so unique, and that genre did, using different instruments, that the instruments themselves have not evolved a lot other than computerized synthesis, like this crap playing in the background. Other than that, it's this, you're now selecting from basically the same hopper, whereas Jim Morrison had access to totally different musical sounds than did Scott Joplin.
Did you turn that off, or did Mark?
No, we ran out of music.
Oh,
thank goodness.
I do have one more since we're on the musical topic. What's the most embarrassing album you've ever purchased?
Oh, okay.
I stole a Now 6 CD when I was younger from my 4th grade girlfriend. So that would probably be the most embarrassing purchase.
So not only you're a thief, but that's what I call music.
Do they still do those?
I'm sure they do.
What are we on now? 637?
Probably. Jake?
Yeah, that would be my most embarrassing.
For me, well, does this count? When I was entering kindergarten, living in Shelbyville, Indiana, I bought the Sean Cassidy. I didn't. My mom bought for me the Sean Cassidy album at Airway. Mm-hmm. Probably doesn't count. Marcy McCracken kissed me in the Airway that day, by the way.
Highlight of her life, I'm assuming.
What's that?
Highlight of her life, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It's all downhill after that.
I'm sure she still brings it up today, just like Jake does, right?
We're 5. I think, now I went to high school in a bad era, boys. I don't think that I bought Milli Vanilli. I don't know that I bought the Vanilla Ice tape, but the other day I was driving around and the other Vanilla Ice song came on, not Ice Ice Baby, but Play That Funky Music, White Boy, and it honestly is the most embarrassing. The lyrics are so bad. I'm like, this is terrible. I mean, terrible. So it's probably one of those.
I had the Hanson CD.
Oh, man.
It was bad.
25 years ago this week, Mbop hit number 1.
Hanson.
It was one of the purchases.
Hanson low-key, Mark. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge that. Okay. Jeremiah Johnson at 8:30.
I don't feel so bad about my Milli Vanilli all of a sudden.
Some very good news on the college basketball front for Indiana. We'll talk about that next as well here. Kevin and Query, 8 o'clock hour on a beautiful Friday.
Everybody needs a man cave.
Ours just happens to be a little bigger than most.
All right. Let's not go there. Let's just invite them to our place.
We're getting together for a night in the fan cave, brought to you by Forum Credit Union on June 23rd. We'll chat about sports, tell lies, and talk smack.
We'll start the evening down in the Larceny Lounge with munchies, beer, and plenty of Larceny and Evan Williams bourbon.
This is going to be a heck of a party and a show rolled into one.
Tickets are on sale now at 1075thefan.com.
You want to do your own lawn care and pest control, but you're not sure if you can get pro results? You can with DoMyOwn.com. They have pro products, the pro knowledge, and the pro support you need to use them. DoMyOwn.com for the pro in you.
The Sundown Gardens Container Tree Sale is this Saturday and Sunday. 20% off all container trees at Sundown Gardens, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com.
The NBA Finals are here, and so is your chance to score big on FanDuel Sportsbook. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query, and throughout the NBA Finals, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Bet the money line, point spreads, player props, and so much more. Plus, you can combine your bets for an even bigger payday with a same-game parlay. So Game 1 is just not even 24 hours old. We're already looking ahead to Game 2. I've got the over of 215.5 total points for Game 2 on Sunday. The Celtics to cover the 4.5-point spread. And Steph Curry over 28.5 points in the game. A $10 bet right now will pay out over $57. To sign up with promo code MARK, M-A-R-C, if you haven't tried FanDuel, now is the perfect time to give it a shot. Because the only thing sweeter than watching the finals is cashing in on all the action. Join today with promo code MARK and turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets, win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Once again, that's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C. And while you're there, check out their same-game parlays, their everyday odds boosts and specials. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use. And when you win, you get paid quick. I love it. Check it out. It's great. 21 and over and present in Indiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now drawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Hey, it's JMV for BullseyeEventGroup.com and the best pregame party anywhere. The Colts are going to Vegas this year, and so can you. The official Colts Las Vegas fan travel package is a private air charter with hundreds of Colts fans. That means no stops, no layovers, a direct flight. Leave Indy Saturday morning, return Monday afternoon. 2-night weekend travel package at Caesars Palace. Tickets to the Colts and the Raiders game included. The official Colts Las Vegas fan travel package includes admission into the official Colts tailgate in Vegas, Vegas style. Book your spot now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
Sunny day.
You'll be on Cloud 9 this summer with a spectacular offer from Diamonds Direct. Right now, for a limited time, you can make any purchase and take advantage of 0% interest financing for 5 years. It's our most popular offer ever. How about that $6,000 designer ring for just $100 a month? Fine jewelry has never been more affordable. But hurry, this is a limited time offer. 5 years, 0 interest on anything and everything. Only at Diamonds Direct. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com. On approved credit.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
This is Malia with Family Heating and Air. No matter what side of town you're on, we'll come out to you, any make or model. We'll get out there for a tune-up or just for service. Our number is 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air Conditioning is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
Are you looking to stay cool this summer and have fun with your family and friends? Call Royal Pin Entertainment at 465-8484 to join a summer league today. Summer leagues are fun and affordable and last only a short time. If you're going to bowl this summer, bowl at a Royal Pin Entertainment Center. Call 465-8484 or go to royalpin.com to join a league today. Grab your friends and stop in your favorite Royal Pin Entertainment Center for open play. Reserve your lanes by the hour at royalpin.com. Come bowling this summer and have the time of your life. Call 465-8484 or go to royalpin.com.
Royal Pin. Bowling, bowling. Royal Pin. Bowling.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Hey, I'm back and better than ever. It's Friday. We're going to talk to a variety of people, get you set up for your gambling weekend. Also discuss what happened last night with the NBA Finals.
Some people thought I wouldn't break. Then I stuffed number one in their face. Never forget where I came from. Don't lose your head, cause you can get dumb. Do it. It's my motto for the moment. Get in my way, I'll knock you out like my opponent.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Always wanna get some.
That's okay. I remember.
This might be more painful than the background music last segment.
Not by much. When I was a junior and senior in high school, we went through a very interesting musical phase where there were some cool bands. De La Soul was cool. I loved Third Base. And they all had like these little like music videos that were kind of like little, almost like comical sitcom type scenarios. Gilbert Gottfried was in a couple of them. And then there was one band, I can't even remember which one it was, that started wearing like almost like Zuba pants, but they were like fluorescent colors. And I remember Chris Farkas and I were dead set, like we're going and getting a pair of shorts like that and a cantaloupe colored t-shirt. I mean, we were cool, man.
Yeah.
1990, North Central High School, we were cool.
Oh, man. You were playing multiple versions during the break. I'm like, that sounds horrific. I mean, that literally sounds like something you would make up with your friends.
Ice Ice Baby was massive when it came out. And then I remember everybody went out and bought the tape. And then that was the follow-up, if you will. And it was like, I don't think this is very good. And the rest of it was just garbage.
Oh, the Ninja Rap from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that got it done. That was a good one. Secret of the Ooze.
You know, I meant to text you guys yesterday. Did you see, and credit to Tony Donahue for this, did you see his tweet about who was performing leading into the road course Brickyard week here in town? Late July.
Now say this again.
We have a musical act that will be performing on Thursday night of the NASCAR IndyCar weekend together
at
here
IMS
in
or
late
at
July.
White River?
No, the venue certainly stood out to me because I've driven by this place 1,000 times thinking about what it looks like on the inside. But it is a musical group that we have talked about on the show recently.
In what era was their prime?
Oh, current. Thriving, you might say. Well, actually, this person said they're not really thriving, but they're going to try to resurrect it.
Puddles of Mud. Puddle of Mud. Is that what they're called?
Are they still thriving in 2022?
Were they ever? Creed.
By lead drummer Colton Herta.
Oh, yeah. I did know this.
The Zips, right? Is it Zips or Zibs?
You know what? I thought it was Zips when he said it. It's Zibs.
So it's not Akron. Zips.
Correct. Like you thought he would have corrected us, right?
I had a buddy of mine text me yesterday. It's the Tom Zibikowskis.
There you go.
Zibby,
He's a boxer now, right?
I think firefighter, but yeah, was a boxer at one point. They're going to play at the Melody Inn, Jake, right there at 38th in Illinois.
It's kind of a punk rock type band, right?
I can't say I know the genre, but yeah, I've always driven by that and been like, man, wonder who plays there. Wonder what it's like on the inside. But Google
you've never been in
and
Melody Inn?
I Google
it's iconic.
it and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, the Melody Inn is like, have you ever been to the Red Key?
Oh, yeah.
The Melody Inn is like the Red Key, but with
Red
live
Key's
music.
Got a great burger.
Yeah, of course.
Cash only, I believe, at the Red Key.
That is correct.
So, yeah, Colton Herta there on...
What is that, Mark?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
What did you throw in there?
I believe Mark said the Red Garter. And again,
well, he said cash only. I said Red Garter.
The Red Garter DJ, the Red Garter weekend DJ is a big fan of the show.
Yeah.
Now, is it the Red Garter where the two judges went and then had too many pops and then went to White Castle for a burger and started shooting people?
I think they ended up there in the White Castle.
Is that where that was?
It's a stone's throw from each other.
Jake, Wednesday was the deadline for underclassmen to enter the NBA draft or decide to come back. And I don't think you can make an argument, but Indiana benefited so much from not only Trace Jackson Davis returning, but you look at what the Big Ten lost. You're going to have Johnny Davis and Keegan Murray obviously go in the top 10. Ohio State lost E.J. Liddell, and remember their freshman this year, Malachi Branham, that wing, really good player. He is going to remain in the draft. Michigan did have Hunter Dickinson come back, but Musa Diabate and Caleb Houston, a couple starters from this past year, have elected to stay in the draft. We know Kofi Cockburn stayed in as well. I mean, you look at the Big Ten. I mean, sure, Michigan State's still going to be there. I mean, hell, Iowa's probably due for somebody else to step up. Probably Chris Murray, Keegan's little brother. But there is, I don't think you can look at it on paper and say there is a clear-cut, definite, this team brings back, 60, 70% of their scoring, and they are the Big Ten favorite. Indiana still got a lot to prove, and their outside shooting will remain the elephant in the room. But from a who's coming back and who left standpoint, IU has greatly benefited this offseason from that.
I would agree with that. I think the one thing that you have to consider for other programs, you never really totally know or understand what guys are waiting in the wing. You know, certain schools, Iowa comes to mind and Wisconsin comes to mind.
Yeah, player development, Jake.
They always have a guy that all of a sudden is averaging 22 a game, and you're like, where did this guy come? He averaged 3 as a freshman.
IU hasn't had enough player development.
I would agree with that. Look, it looks like the two things here. You know, when I was, I don't know what age, Ed Sorensen said to me, you know, Jake, the thing about Indianapolis and working in this town is if you talk about IU, Purdue fans think you're an IU fan, and if you talk about Purdue, IU fans think you're a Purdue fan. He's like, you simply cannot win. So I'm about to set myself up for that right now. I love Purdue. I went to Indiana. I grew up the biggest Indiana fan on the planet. There are people that hate Indiana probably because of me from childhood, from the PTSD of my IU fandom and obnoxiousness. Then I got out of school and started covering teams for a living, and I covered Purdue. And I really liked Gene Cady. I loved Joe Tiller. That was kind of my beat. And I grew a great appreciation for the Purdue basketball program and respect for it. And Matt Painter and Elliot Bloom, I love them. And I've loved what they've been able to do. And this year I thought they were fun as hell to watch. My worry for Purdue, which is not a worry for Indiana, and maybe this is totally off base, but Kevin, I feel like Purdue, the name, image, likeness thing kind of caught him at the wheel a little bit, asleep at the wheel. That's not to say they weren't aware of it, but I think when the name, image, likeness thing was brewing on the horizon, there were programs that thought that water was going to come through like a garden hose in the living room, and they had to make sure they had mops ready. And there were programs that assumed it was going to be coming through like a fire hydrant. And Indiana was one that was ahead of the game of taking it in like it was a fire hydrant and having a game plan immediately in place to maximize it to their advantage as opposed to try to kind of turn the eye to it. And I think that Purdue turned the eye a bit and got caught asleep at the wheel because the thing came like, you know, water just rushing through, and they weren't totally prepared for it when it took place. That's not to say they can't make up for that, but it is such a thin margin for error and such a short window of when all of a sudden it's going to be off and running with this name, image, likeness, and the recruitment and the growing of your brand and your program and what it can do for you. And I think Indiana was ahead of it and said, you know what, this is on its way, so let's have a game plan in place to secure recruits and players and keep them here and everything else. And I feel like Purdue is already playing catch-up with that. And now they're behind the 8 ball, and this was a program that for the last 2 or 3 years was the preeminent recruiting-based program in the state of Indiana. And this changed everything. And Indiana seems to be in a really good place in terms of their roster for this year and their outlook moving forward, and what a difference a year makes, because Purdue now is the one that looks like you're like, man, they lost a lot, and how are they going to make up for it now? And they're kind of behind the 8 ball. Yeah. They're playing catch-up.
You know, Purdue still got Caleb Furst and
they have very good players,
Trey
Kevin.
Kaufman-Wren.
I get it, but but they lost marquee level, NBA level players, and where do they get those now?
Yeah, but you know what? That program has proven it that they can write a new chapter, and that chapter be pretty similar to the previous one.
That's fair.
So I think from a program foundation standpoint and what Matt Painter has proven, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Are they the most active NIL team? No, probably not. I also don't think, when you look at Purdue and the recruiting history, I also don't think they're getting involved with like a ton of, you know, major NIL type of prospects. Now, maybe that's going to turn into everybody is an NIL prospect at some level.
I will tell you right now, maybe I shouldn't say the name of the player. I'm not going to say the name of the player. And I know that that's unfair, but there was a marquee player within the last, several years that I had heard had interest in Purdue. That interest did not seem reciprocated. And I asked at Purdue, are you recruiting said player? They said, well, early, yeah, but we backed off. Why would you back off? Well, it was made very apparent to us very early that was a pay for play. And we weren't going to do it. We wanted no part of it. Okay. I respect the hell out of that. Totally do. And Purdue has been able, Kevin, to get by and thrive on taking players where they didn't have to deal with that kind of nonsense. Matt Painter has. And that's worked well for them, and they've gotten guys that buy in and play that Purdue way, and it's fabulous to watch. My concern is now, though, that that's out there for everybody, and that the curtain has been ripped off, that now even, like, in other words, the Caleb First and those players, does Purdue get them now? Even 2 years later, would Purdue get that kid now if they knew that other schools came to them and said, hey, you can go to Purdue or you can come here where we already have a name, image, likeness deal set up and we can guarantee that you're going to get $30,000 cash a year?
Yeah, I don't, like, is Purdue just simply just going to turn their back to it?
No. I don't think they are, but what I'm saying is, it's kind of like...
Indiana's certainly been much more public with their NIL stuff.
Correct. And it's...
Does Indiana get those 2 5-stars without NIL? I don't know. I don't. Hood Schifino kid, I feel like was committed before any of that really took off.
But Indiana had the vision of it for a long time. It's kind of like, this is a really bad comparison, but it's kind of like Bitcoin, which I don't totally understand, and I don't want to get into that because I think most people don't totally understand it. But what I know is this:
Did their stock go down when VK crashed?
I think it was already.
That's what I was thinking.
I think the rear end had stepped out on it already. But what I know about Bitcoin is this: most people, if you didn't get in on it by now, it's probably the people that are making a ton of money on it got in on it like 2 years ago, or actually more like 5 years ago. And with NIL, it's like if you haven't capitalized for your program on it by now, you're playing way behind. And the ones that are totally cashing in on it are the ones that were ahead of the game and are developing that rapport with recruits. And Indiana is one of them.
How about Jennifer in the YouTube chat, really bringing it on a Friday? I will be dead before Purdue is successful in the big dance, and I'm okay with that as an IU fan.
Wow.
Well, Jennifer, good Friday to you. Now, I'm going to give Purdue the benefit of the doubt. I think as a program, when you are on this is a cheesy line to say, but in the state of Indiana, when you're on the limestone type of foundation that they've created, it might be a smaller pool of candidates, but it'll be interesting to watch. But I still think they're on pretty good footing, and they're going to have to replace obviously some extremely key players, and I should say mainly Trayvon Williams and Jay Nivey. But I'm interested to see how all of that unfolds for them. Alex Bozich, who covers IU, had this, Jake. I thought it was an interesting note. 17 players, first, second, or third team all Big Ten last year. Only 3 are coming back.
Between first, second, and third team?
Yeah. Hunter Dickinson, Trace Jackson-Davis, and Zach Edey. Greg says, Indiana fan and graduate here, but if Indiana's the best team in the Big Ten, that means the league stinks. Yeah, that's probably accurate. And, look at how many names will be announced in the top 10 here coming up in less than 3 weeks for the draft. The Big Ten probably will take a step back from a national standpoint. I mean, sure, you're going to have programs, as you said, Jake, that have some guys that develop and have been waiting in the wings, but I do think the league as a whole will be taking a step back. Notre Dame's Blake Wesley did stay in the draft as well, so we'll see if his name
That's not a surprise,
gets
right? called.
Yeah, I was hoping he would, I'm speaking as a fan here, I was hoping he'd come back, but extremely athletic. I thought he could have a potential to do a little bit of what Johnny Davis, Jay Nivey did. Maybe not climb up that high, but get into the lottery, whereas I think now he's kind of a late first-round pick. Before we hit a morning check down, and Jeremiah Johnson in about 10 minutes, you kind of give us a little bit of explanation on the Alexander Rossi to Aaron McLaren multi-year deal there that was officially announced after the show ended.
Rossi, of course, Alexander Rossi, American, native of California, won the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race. He did so in a year where he was a rookie and was running essentially not full-time, I don't think at the time, with Andretti Autosport. that parlayed for him into more sponsorship with Napa Auto Parts back in 2016. And he immediately showed an incredible promise and talent level that was like, whoa, wait a minute, this guy is legit and for real. So at that time, he became eventually a free agent. I think that was 3 years ago maybe, and was a very coveted free agent. There was rumor he was going to go to Penske or Ganassi. He opted to stay with Andretti Autosport. That contract expires at the end of this year, and for whatever reason in the last year or so, things just haven't gone Rossi's way. Not necessarily his fault or that of the team. They've just had bad luck. They've just missed on some things. Colton Herta, his teammate at Andretti Autosport, is a promising young talent as well, and it seemed like maybe some of the enthusiasm or resource shifted a little bit towards Colton Herta. So with Rossi's contract coming up, obviously he began looking, or his representation did. Arrow McLaren, which formerly was Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, owned by Sam Schmidt and Rick Peterson, they merged with McLaren, the longtime super team of Formula One that has also won IndyCar races over the last 50 years and run by Zach Brown. That program, they decided to build a shop here in Indianapolis. They promoted a guy named Taylor Kyle, who is from Indianapolis, as their president. And they said, we are all in now on the IndyCar side of things. They inked in Pato O'Ward, and then Felix Rosenqvist is there. They said they were going to go to a 3-car team next year. That third car, they pursued Alexander Rossi. They gave him a lot of money. He agreed to that, so he will go to that team starting next season. Kyle Kirkwood, a young up-and-coming American from Florida who had run through the minor leagues, for lack of a better phrase, with Andretti, will replace Rossi in that car for next year. And there is still speculation as to what happens with Felix Rosenqvist's ride, whether that remains Rosenqvist or someone like another young person that they can lure away from a bigger team joins. But Rossi will join Arrow McLaren next season.
Now, Pato O'Ward re-signed with Arrow for a couple of seasons.
Correct.
Does that mean it's strictly IndyCar, or does that mean he is with Arrow, and if Arrow wants to take him, I should say, if McLaren wants to take him to F1, they could do that?
Excellent question. It appears the latter.
God, I hate that. Selfishly.
Here's the thing. Pato O'Ward, through the course of his career in the, again, I'll call it for lack of a better phrase, the AAA series. And coming up through the ranks, Pato O'Ward's biggest rival was Colton Herta. They are of the same age. They came through and raced against each other. Pato O'Ward was with Arrow McLaren. It came out a couple of months ago that that McLaren was going to do a Formula One test with Colton Herta. Not with O'Ward, but with Colton Herta. Pato O'Ward was outwardly displeased with that and offended by it, that he was not notified of that news. And the fact now that O'Ward has this kumbaya with the team, one would assume that means that they said, listen, we are going to test Colton in a Formula One car, but we'll give you the same opportunity and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. So one would assume that door is open for Pato O'Ward. Clearly, from an IndyCar standpoint, they want Pato O'Ward in IndyCar. That's up to McLaren what they think is their best option. It seems inevitable that Colton Herta is the one that will end up in Formula One. And it also seems as though, if we're talking about from the McLaren side, it's one seat between those two guys. But those are unknowns, but implied things.
One last note on the underclassmen NIL Big Ten debate there. Wale chimes in the YouTube chat. IU has always out-recruited Purdue. This isn't going to change. It's about player development, and Purdue is miles better than IU. Purdue already has recruits that fit them locked in. Yeah, Jake, I feel like Purdue will figure out NIL at some level, and as long as they do it to some degree, their history as a program, as a coaching staff of what they've done, they'll continue to be one of the most consistent programs in the Big Ten. I don't see NIL all of a sudden totally shifting the landscape of where Purdue is at right now.
Fair.
He's Jake Query. I'm Kevin Bowen. Mark Dykton across the way. Jeremiah Johnson's going to join us here in about 5 minutes. Let's do a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Relieving your joint pain at QCkinetics.com. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Last night, Game 1 NBA Finals. It was Boston 120-108 over the Golden State Warriors in the Bay Area. Celtics now lead 1-game love, obviously. The big story in this one, Golden State seemingly had the game in the bag, and then all of a sudden on a night where Jason Tatum was just 3 of 17 from the floor and Steph Curry had 34, Boston, between Derek White and Al Horford, caught fire for a 40-16 fourth quarter, erasing a deficit and ending up with a 12-point win. Here is head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, on what happened.
Thought we had a couple turnovers, a couple bad possessions offensively, and they just pounced. They took advantage of every opportunity. They moved the ball well, and like I said, you make 5-6 threes in a row in the fourth quarter. Then that's tough to overcome. So, we'll watch the tape and learn from it and see what we can do better. My gut reaction, just what I just witnessed, was they just came in, played a hell of a fourth quarter, and you got to give them credit. And it's pretty much as simple as that.
Hell of a fourth quarter is an understatement. It was incredible. I was probably 1 or 2 Golden State buckets away from going to bed, to be honest with you. And then all of a sudden, that fourth quarter onslaught came. And shout out to Brad Stevens, the roster constructor, Brad Stevens. The trade for Al Horford last offseason, the in-season trade for Derek White as well. I think a lot of people were, just a little bit confused by some of that. And they were outstanding last night when Jason Tatum was struggling. So, Game 2 Sunday night, that'll be at 8 o'clock. Major League Baseball yesterday, the Redlegs get back on the winning ways. They beat the Nationals back at home. Joey Votto went yard in that one. Mark, congrats. The Cubs over the Cardinals, 7-5 there. Tigers beat the Twins 3-2. White Sox lose the Blue Jays 8-3.
I like how you were congratulated on that, Mark.
I know, I appreciate that. I don't have a stake in the team, but I'll take it.
Again, that's the high road. I believe this Friday, a week ago Friday, Mark refused to play any audio from the 20-run outing.
That's not true.
So,
there was no audio to play. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I would play it if I had it.
Okay. I'm kind of with Kevin on this one. By the way, did you mention that the Omaha Storm Chasers beat the Indians 4-1?
No, so did they win the series? Or actually, they do 5-game series, don't they, in AAA now?
Sure.
French Open final would be an 18-year-old American in the women's final. Coco Gauff has not lost a set yet in the French Open. She is the youngest American in a Grand Slam final since Serena Williams in 1999.
It kind of feels like Coco Gauff should be 25 by now because she's been on the radar for a long time. She's the Michelle Wie of tennis.
I feel like in Wimbledon a few years ago, she made maybe the quarterfinals at 15 or 16, and obviously that was a huge storyline.
Very cool,
so we'll
though.
See if she can get it done tomorrow. NHL, Jake, Avalanche up 2-0 on the Oilers. They win 2-0 last night. We'll see if the Rangers can go up 2-0. They've got the Lightning tonight.
4-0. They won.
It was 4-0.
Yeah.
They go up. Rangers will try to go up 2-0 in that series.
Mark, you are quite the hockey guy.
Hey, I'm all in on the Oilers, so they need to bounce back.
Excuse me?
I'm all in on the Edmonton Oilers.
When did this happen?
Next year.
Well, like I said, they got some good players. They got Connor McDavid. They've got Duncan Keith. They've got Evander Kane. I like those guys.
I'm glad you can name the players.
Yeah, unlike Jake, I know what I'm talking about.
Should we do a remote show from an Edmonton-Calgary game next year?
That's really remote.
Do you think we could get that by our bosses?
You realize that if we were to do a show there,
what time would that be at?
It would be 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. their time, but depending what time of year it is, the sun would already be up. Because they're 700 miles north of Montana, so it's 20 hours of sunlight in the summer. It's crazy.
So the further north you go in the summer, Michigan it stays
crazy.
Light until 10:30.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Detroit Grand Prix is this weekend. Jake will be up there at Belle Isle. The race 3 o'clock on Sunday. Marcus Ericsson and Pato O'Ward are your 2 defending champs. They just won a race this year. Ericsson, Jake, too tired? Does he get top 5? He's been pretty consistent.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that is a track. If there was one place you need to be fully rested and ready going into it, I'll be honest with you, it is Detroit because it's a very physical track, both physically and mentally speaking. It's very demanding. So it'll be interesting. Pato O'Ward, Ericsson's now the points leader.
But it's still pretty close, right?
Yeah, but he's had to do a lot of stuff this week. Indy was a double points paying race, which is what vaulted Ericsson into the points lead.
We come back, Jeremiah Johnson, talk a little Pacers, Lance Stephenson news, And game 1 last night. We'll do that next here. Kevin and Corey.
Want to explore using Mitsubishi electric ductless mini splits to heat and cool your home or business? Learn more at absolutecomfort.org. That's absolutecomfort.org.
Mortgage interest rates have started to drop. If you've been thinking about a cash-out refinance, visit thehomeloanexpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Let's go to Vegas, Colts fans, with BullseyeEventGroup.com. Private air charter and a direct flight with a 2-night weekend travel package at Caesars Palace. It's Vegas, baby. Get your spot now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
The NBA Finals are here, and so is your chance to score big on FanDuel Sportsbook. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query, and throughout the NBA Finals, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Bet the money line, point spreads, player props, and so much more. Plus, you can combine those bets for an even bigger payday with the same game parlay. I've used them throughout the NBA playoffs. I used it last night too, didn't come through, but that's okay. I'm looking ahead to game 2 already, over 215.5 total points between the Celtics and Warriors. Give me the Celtics to cover the 4.5 point spread and Steph Curry over 28.5 points. A $10 bet will pay out over $57. All you have to do is sign up with promo code MARK. If you haven't tried FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. Because the only thing sweeter than watching the finals is cashing in on all the action. Again, join today with promo code MARK to turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets, win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Again, that's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C. 21 and over and present in Indiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now drawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
I'm a jewelry designer on the team at Shane Company. And yes, we're the place for beautifully crafted classics. But we're also excited about our new styles. Here's some of our favorites. First off, our new opal pendant. It's absolutely gorgeous. The play of color on the stone is just mesmerizing. And it's the perfect centerpiece to layer with chains. Next, our zodiac charms, accented with diamonds. Add them to a necklace with other charms to tell your story. You'll love our stud earrings in aquamarine, the color of the moment. With the diamond halo, the serene blue really stands out. Another super stylish option, our gemstone by the yard necklace. Choose either London blue topaz, amethyst, or peridot. We have matching bracelets too. Last but not least, our new jewelry collection with pepper diamonds. These styles feature uniquely shaped diamonds with streaks of black. They're just so cool. You've got to see them. Come in and see what's new.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Sip and save at Circle K with our great new drink subscription. Join Sip and Save today and enjoy one drink a day every day for just $5.99 a month. Enjoy your favorite Circle K ice cold fountain drink, Froster, or freshly ground coffee every day. That's 30 drinks a month for only $5.99. So sip and save at Circle K. Sign up in store or at CircleK.com. Circle K, take it easy.
My dad and I have gone to the Indy 500 together every year since I was a little girl, except for last year. That was the year something legendary happened. My dad was one of the 1,000 Hoosiers waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. And last May, he got the call that saved his life. Because someone just like you said yes to being an organ donor, my dad is alive. You can do something legendary. Learn more at driventosavelives.org.
Well, another 500 is in the books, so let's look at the June checklist. Colts draft? Check. Pacers didn't make the playoffs? Check. The race is over? Check. Now back to the speculation, conjecture, and rumors.
I hear Shade and Sharp. I've never seen the guy other than YouTube clips.
With the 6th pick, the Indiana Pacers select.
Find out June 23rd with the NBA Draft on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
26 minutes before the hour of 9 o'clock in Indianapolis, which means it's actually 26 minutes before the hour of 9 o'clock everywhere in the Eastern time zone.
You often say that. I wonder why.
Well, first off, people are listening to us all over the globe. That's the magic of the net. And
is it informative? Is it a funny statement? I don't follow.
It's actually it's satirical of other programs that take place out of this building.
Shots fired.
Okay. Is this where Mark plays da-da-da-da?
That's right.
You think our next guest stayed up for the entire game last night?
Yes, because our next guest has no job in the summertime and has no excuse not to stay up.
Well, I think he does Cardinals baseball games. I think he's done some state finals.
I mean that in a good way. I'm saying I know what that's like. I did 22 months of it.
Jeremiah
Watched
Johnson,
a lot of Bonanza.
That was not me right there. You know full well whose voice that was.
You know, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've got a lot of free time in the month of June. That was my only question, was what time I could actually wake up to talk to you fine folks, but I figured I could make time at 8:30. So I did stay up until the end of the game, and I'm ready to do a little radio broadcasting for about 15 minutes. So thanks for helping me shake the rust off.
You know what, JJ? Last night, Jeremiah Johnson, by the way, of course, of Bally Sports Indiana and Sidelines for the Pacers television broadcast, joins us.
Half-asses it half the year,
that's
according
right.
to Jake.
That's right. Time for his 6-month slumber. The Celtics, to me, have the guy that every team needs, and there aren't many of them out there. But I want to talk about, listen, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart are a tremendous trio in so many areas. But a guy like Al Horford, who I remember last year was put on ice at the end of the year, and people were like, is he done? The level of professionalism that he has, to me, Al Jefferson kind of felt like that player for the Pacers, but I don't know that they were, obviously they weren't as good as Boston right now. But
how about David West?
Yeah, David West would probably be that guy, but I think West was a better player at that point in his career than Horford, who's just kind of one of those plug-and-play veterans. Jeremiah, can you speak to, I guess, the unicorn nature of an Al Horford, or am I overstating this?
No, I don't think you are. And a lot was made in the last couple of days about the moves that Brad Stevens made since going from head coach to general manager. And one of the first moves that he made was to reacquire Al Horford. And I think he knows better than anyone what it takes to put a successful team together. And he saw what they were missing the last couple of years and maybe what they had with Al Horford, and that they needed a guy like Al Horford back. And just to bring it back to the Pacers, and you brought up some solid names. I think Thad Young is that guy, and maybe even that guy still. Now, they have different strengths. Al Horford, the way he was shooting last night, you might not expect to see from Thad Young, but definitely the veteran leadership, the intangibles, just the moxie in a close game. You could rely on Thad Young to make some plays for you. I don't know if he could still do what Al Horford did in the fourth quarter last night, but he might be one of those guys that, I think every team needs, and it's why I think Thad Young may have another couple years in the league for someone. And I'm not sure of his contract status at this point. I think he's a free agent. So he could be a guy that another team says, we need a guy like Al Horford. Maybe Thad Young is that guy. But I do think that you don't win big without guys like Al Horford.
The other thing I think Horford deserves so much credit for, JJ, the guy shot like 15 threes in the first 5 or 6 years in the NBA. He was an all-star without a three-point shot. And yet, as the game has evolved, and as he reached his late 20s and early 30s, he realized that he needed to evolve as a player. It's not oftentimes you see guys develop something a lot different in their game when they reach kind of the back half of their career, yet he's done it. And obviously, last night was a career night from behind the arc, but I just think kudos to him. I think he's such a pro, but at the same time, being willing and not stubborn enough to say, no, this is my game. I'm going to stick with it. I was a top 5 pick, and I've been an all-star. I think that's even more credit to him.
Al Horford's one of those guys. He seems like, a really nice guy, and I had a lot of personal interactions. And I've actually been able to move past some disdain for Al Horford because of that Butler-Florida Sweet 16 game when I can still remember him.
Didn't he charge? Wasn't it a charge?
Down from the three-point line all the way to the basket and then getting Crone's 5th foul. And I just could not believe it at that time. At that time, I was not a Noah or Al Horford fan, but I have come to respect everything that Al Horford's done in his career.
You like Boston in this series?
Well, with what you saw last night, I think it's probably a little disheartening to the Warriors that they could have an epic Steph Curry game. He could have 21 points in the first quarter. They could go to the fourth quarter with that big lead at home and not get a win. So they've got some adjustments to make. They have an extra day. That could possibly help. I think it's going to be a long series. I saw, it was interesting, the projections and the analysts, they were all over the map. I mean, some were saying for sure Warriors in 5. Others were saying Celtics in 4 or 5. Some said a long series. I still think it will be a long series. The Celtics are coming off winning 2 other series in a Game 7. And it would not shock me to see this series go to at least Game 6 in Boston. But if Boston has a chance up 3-2 in this one, I think they probably get the job done. So right now I'm thinking maybe Celtics in 6, but it wouldn't shock me to see a Game 7. And we've seen Game 7s not necessarily favor the home team as much as you would expect. So I think it's going to be a great series, and it was a great start to the finals.
Jeremiah, who is the Pacers' Al Horford?
Currently? Because that's probably what they need. And actually, Kevin Pritchard had mentioned Al Jefferson. I think they're still probably looking for that guy. I think it'll be interesting to see if Buddy Hield is back, the role that he takes, because I think he still values himself as a starting level player, someone that can get you 20 points. But at some point in his career, and he has a number of years left on his contract, I see some veteran leadership in Buddy Hield, the kind of guy that's going to put the work in. So they don't play the same position, and they have different strengths. Maybe right now he could be that guy. But I'd have to say that they're probably still looking for that player on the roster. What say you, Jake?
I would agree with your assessment. It's funny because a lot of times you think of those players because of the guys that we just mentioned, Thaddeus Young, David West, and Al Horford, Al Jefferson. Usually they're low block level players. And not necessarily, like I think of wing players as like wide receivers. They got a little more diva in them. And the team level becomes a little more rare. I don't know that they have it. And I think it's one of the things they could use on this roster. But they probably need to find out who exactly their core run with guys are first before they then find out who's going to be the guy that comes in and keeps everything in line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to have a guy like you mentioned, though, you've got to have, 6-7 years at least of NBA experience, someone that has the ability to say, I've been in the trenches, I've done this. And they have maybe 3 or 4 of those guys, and there are a lot of guys that are in maybe their first, second, third, fourth years. So I think that position is still available, and I don't think it's maybe the number one priority heading into June and July, but it may be 2 or 3, because I do think depending upon what the rest of the roster looks like, you've got to have some veterans that can teach the youngsters, whether you get 1 or 2 here in the draft, and you had obviously 2 first-round picks from a year ago. You got to have some guys that have been there and done that can really lead the way. And I do think that, to start this conversation, a guy like Al Horford is really important, and it should be someone that the Pacers and their front office are looking to see if they can acquire.
You know who I love in the league that is this kind of a player? And I've said this on this program before. I don't know anything about him as a guy, Jeremiah, but a guy that has been a plug and professional everywhere he's gone is Jae Crowder. Does the dirty work, doesn't need shots to come through him to get you 8 or 10 points.
He could play in the NFL.
Totally, but he can hit it open 3. He'll guard people. He's got a little nastiness in him. That's the kind of guy. I'd love to see the Pacers get Jae Crowder. I'm just throwing that name out there, but that kind of a guy.
And he has been a player in the month of June. I mean, late May and June. Correct. In the conference finals and the finals, and I don't think that's an accident. And obviously, it helps to be on some of the teams that he's played on, but I've also seen him knock down 5 3-pointers in a game. So he's certainly capable. He's not the first person that you expect to knock down a shot in a critical moment, but he's not afraid of that moment. So I think it's good. Maybe in some of my free time, I'm going to put together a list of the top 6. Are we calling them glue guys? How do we call these guys?
Glue guy's a good way to say it.
Lunch pail.
Lunch pail. That's good. A little combination of the two.
JJ with his lunch pail, the blue-collar, hard-working Jeremiah Johnson with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. JJ, if you had to narrow it down to skill set, do the Pacers need more perimeter shooting or more perimeter defense?
Well, I'd say perimeter defense, but you always need shooting. So if you're drafting number 6, you need someone that can do both. I mean, you want a two-way player. You're not just looking for one. But overall, they have some defensive, deficiencies that they have to improve on from last season. There's no doubt about that. And they made some changes. They have some interior rim protection as the roster is currently constructed right now. I mean, just look at Isaiah Jackson and Miles Turner. I'm going to put those two in among maybe the best 10 to 15 rim protectors in the league. We know what Miles Turner is capable of, but in a small sample size, Isaiah Jackson can do that as well. So if you have two of those guys, it does provide that security for the guys on the perimeter that you've got that behind you, but they've got to do a better job at the point of attack. And so I'm not sure that I would say one is more important than the other. What I would say is that up and down the roster, they just probably need just a little bit better shooting. I think they're moving in that direction. I mean, even guys that you didn't know at the start of last season, like Dwayne Washington Jr. and let's say Chris Duarte, you knew what you thought he could do, but they can really knock down the shot. And so how do they fill in with those guys and get a little bit more shooting? Obviously, Buddy Hield can shoot. So probably just looking at the roster now and saying, well, you've got 3 or 4, maybe let's say high 30, 40% shooters. We think Tyrese Halliburton can be high 30s as well. Defense is going to be really important as you're building this team.
JJ, we were talking about Scott Agnes' story a little bit earlier about Lance Stephenson and knee surgery in the offseason, but mutual interest in him being brought back as a free agent. How have you seen Lance from a maturation standpoint over the years? At 31, I was saying this earlier, if he doesn't take advantage of that 10-day contract earlier this year, that might have been it for him in his NBA career. Do you see a guy that would be more willing to take kind of a backseat, 10th, 11th, 12th man role if the Pacers were to bring him back?
Yeah, it's crazy to think of Lance Stephenson as someone who could maybe be your glue guy kind of player, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I think with what I saw last season, it's actually a role that he would embrace. It used to be the second stint with the Pacers, definitely in the first. He would get taken out of the game. He would walk back to the bench. He would be upset. He always wanted to be, on the court making plays. And there was still a little bit of that last season. You can't completely change the player. But I never once saw him question a decision from the coaches, whether he was playing or not. I mean, sure, there were times maybe he wanted to play a little bit more. He got plenty of opportunities. But I think he also understood when he wasn't in, I never saw him hang his head. And I did see him quite frequently talk to his teammates. And we know what he did in terms of firing up the crowd. So I do think he could embrace that role. I think that, the things that Scott has reported about him wanting to be there, and he said mutual interest, you hope so. It's not the first thing, just like you asked about a glue guy. It's not the number one priority is to figure out Lance Stephenson. It's probably one of those things that happens a little bit later in the summer, but I see a lot of value in a player like Lance. I know what the environment was like December 20th and then January 20th. It was just completely different, and I think Lance Stephenson was a big part of that. So I think that he can do that. I think he could have a role moving forward as a guy that is a veteran leader. I mean, it's crazy to think. You're talking about maturation. You would have never thought in the beginning of Lance Stephenson's career that he would be a guy that you could call a leader, but I think you can right now.
Jeremiah, last thing here. I want you to, and I say this only to illuminate the wild card nature of the NBA draft. Give me 2 years of the last 20, like 2010, 2012, 2016. Just give me 2 years off the top of your head.
Okay, 2013 and 2007.
Okay, the 2013 NBA draft, the 6th overall pick was Nerlens Noel. 2007 NBA draft, 6th overall pick. Oh, boy. Gianli. You remember him? Gianlian. Gianlian from China.
He was the next Yao, right?
I think that's right. He did play.
I think the fan base went ow watching him play instead of
he scored 12 a game for the Nets. Do you remember him, JJ?
I don't actually, and that was obviously I think he was out of the league before I made this sort of my full-time profession.
Yeah, give me another year. That one sucked. Give me another one.
Okay, 2010.
2010, the 6th pick in the 2010 draft was, boy, you're on a hot streak here, buddy. Jan Veasley.
Oh,
now, if you recall, on draft night, he had already won when he walked up to the podium with his significant other from the Czech Republic. It was like,
together?
Well,
after watching him play in the NBA, she might have said, "See you later, Jan."
Jan averaged 3.6. We broke up.
I seem to remember his draft suit being interesting, or maybe he just kind of had an interesting.
He was in that era where they were drafting a bunch of guys that were playing with Voight basketballs on 8mm film at the Tab Church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this guy looks unbelievable. He's the next Nikolai Skidavili.
YouTube. So anybody that was any good had a video on YouTube, and they thought it was amazing, right?
That is true. Look, let's do one more year. One
grainy film, Fran Fraschilla is breaking down.
2014. How about that?
2014. All right, let's see if this time we can get somebody that didn't appear on a Zapruder film. Willie Cauley-Stein.
So we got Noel and Willie Cauley-Stein of the 4 years I gave you that we actually kind of know, but aren't probably hoping to get a similar player.
If you think about
Larry
this,
said Willie Cauley-Stein is going to be a $100 million man one day.
You just picked 2 guys from Kentucky and 2 guys from overseas, which means all of them from foreign countries. Nice job.
That's Jake Query, everybody. J-A-K-E.
Nice job.
JJ, only one more hour for me this week, thankfully.
Hey, by the way, is it almost 9 o'clock in New York and Washington, D.C. as well?
Everywhere in the Eastern time zone, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Glad you clarified that.
Yeah, important clarification here on Kevin and Query. JJ, have a great weekend. If you are up to any Cardinals games or IHSA baseball games, good luck with that this summer, and I appreciate you hopping on.
Hey, we're into the draft coverage in the next few weeks, so I will be attending some of the pre-draft workouts, and I'm sure there'll be a draft party, and we're really focused on these next 3 weeks from today.
Will they serve draft beer?
It's an important time for the Pacers.
They should have. Will they serve draft beer?
Jake.
Most likely, yes.
Oh, I would just think.
JJ, thank you.
Great job on the radio for the 500 as well. I know you have everyone tell you that, but I was sitting in North Vista tuning into my scanner radio. You did a great job.
I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. It's cool to do, and as you know, working with Daenerys is easy, so I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Jeremiah Johnson right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. We are way over. We'll be back. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Realizing Geico's great service and licensed agents are available at your fingertips is like realizing the plastic piece that comes with your pizza isn't a tiny doll table. It's to keep the box from touching the pizza.
Hey, the pizza's stuck to the box. Where's that little plastic thing?
Dolly needed it for her tea party.
It's something that's been right there in front of you all along, like the dedicated Geico claims team available to you in the event of an accident to get you back on the road quickly, or how your smartphone charges faster when you put it on airplane mode.
Wow, what if I put it on rocket mode?
It's something you can't believe you never realized before, like how Geico's industry-leading app lets you pay your bill, file a claim, manage your policy, or summon help when you need it. Or how those holes in your shower caddy are there so you can store your shampoo bottles upside down.
Showers happen fast when you're not waiting on shampoo.
Great service. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
Summer's in Indy, and since 2001, Rhino Shield has been covering Indiana homes and businesses. Just ask Mike.
Was watching TV one night and saw the Rhino Shield ad, and I thought, well, if they can do a house, they can probably do a building.
And Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
So they came out and they gave me a price, showed me how the Rhino works, how it lasts, and how the guarantee works.
Business owners, you too can get the 25-year protection of Rhino Shield right now for 10% off the regular price.
They started on the building. They waited for us to leave, and they worked Saturday and Sunday so they wouldn't affect our business at all. This was the great part of it. I came back Sunday night, and you couldn't even tell they were here. There was no paint on the ground. They did a fantastic job.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Hey, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Come on, let's move it, come on. I wish the chief didn't have me working traffic out here on 38th Street in front of the fairgrounds for this weekend's big gun show. What's that, Harv? Step back, you stupid rabbit, they can't see you. Hey, pull up, buddy. Hey, nip it, and you better watch that sign language. Harv, run inside and buy me a bullet, will you? I lost the other one. And get some night vision gear, too. It looks like I'll be out here till after dark. Wait a minute, and a gun, a pellet gun. What type? Well, how about a rabbit pellet gun? Since you're in my custody, and while you're at it, I need a couple of knives, too. And hey, make those big knives. Now hurry it up. Move over, come on. I wish I wasn't having to work this traffic so I could get to the Indy 1500 Gun and Outdoor Show, I tell you what. Now what's keeping that Harv? Oh, there he is. Hey, Harv! Oh, look out, Harv! Look out! I wonder if those were skinning knives he bought.
Celebrity voice and imaginary character impersonator. The Indy 1500 Gun, Knife, and Outdoor Show this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the State Fairgrounds.
Indy car races through the streets of Belle Isle at the Detroit Grand Prix. Sunday at 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
What is the statute of limitations on declaring that a celebrity voice is an impersonation when the celebrity has been deceased for over a decade and a half? Do we know?
By the way, that's not Orson Welles. Just want to clarify.
Just curious.
Just want to cover everything from a legality standpoint.
I guess. I mean, are we worried that the ghost of the celebrity is going to come back and file a lawsuit?
That was not Ben Franklin that made those comments.
Thomas Jefferson's voice has been altered for that commercial.
That is correct.
Speaking of legal, I think it's anything goes at A Night in the Fan Cave. That's coming up 2 weeks from Wednesday. You can get tickets online, 1075thefan.com. That includes, buying tickets includes 2 drinks and an appetizer as well. Appetizers, I should say that in a plural form. But going to be an awesome night at the Indiana Historical Society. All 3 shows will be involved, Dan and John as well. We'll do a little round table to cap the night up there on stage, and really looking forward to seeing everybody out there for that. So again, tickets 1075thefan.com would be a great Father's Day present.
That would be.
So each show gets its own segment.
Each show gets their own little time.
I don't think a lot of people know exactly what they're expecting. So
yeah, each show gets their own time on stage. You'll be involved with us, certainly, Mark, like you are every day here. And then we'll all come together at the end, and we'll do a round table, if that's the proper way to put it.
Yeah.
All 3 shows, so that should be very interesting. And that is the night before the NBA draft, by the way, June 22nd. So that is a Wednesday. So we'll certainly talk some NBA draft stuff, but a little bit of everything.
Do we know what our little skit is going to be?
I was told that you were planning it.
Yes. Okay.
I think we've discussed this, that we're going to do a few things. We're going to do an I Gotta Know segment. We've got a couple, I don't want to spoil anything for people ahead of the night, but we've got a few ideas in the fire right now.
Jake told me he had like a big email he was going to send out and just kind of let us know his thoughts on that.
Yeah, he's like, would you guys like Don Knotts on the show? I said, sure, find him. Which local cemetery do you have to go to?
Uh-huh.
I are.
Again.
What was that?
I attempted a Don Knotts impression.
Can you do a Don Knotts speaks to Elvis by chance?
Again, Jake has a new favorite player in the NBA, Matt Ryan for the Boston Celtics.
Hey, Elvis, big fan. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Don.
Well, but just out of curiosity, of the finger foods they're going to be serving there, what would Elvis like?
King likes the bacon.
Matt Ryan is a gravedigger, is that right?
I believe the proper term is just maybe cemetery landscaper.
Do people think it's weird that I like to go to cemeteries?
I'd say on the list of weird things, it's probably up there.
I think it's weird you like to lay in the open graves.
Well, now, I don't know that I've done that.
Those at a couple of sites. Not
I will admit, when I was at the Forever Hollywood Cemetery and they were preparing for the entombment of Mickey Rooney and asked if I could be a pallbearer, true story, I thought had a grave for him, and I there was part of me that was like, can I see like the preparation? But he was in a mausoleum, or is now in a mausoleum. He hasn't moved.
Then they radioed to security. Will you get this man?
Let me tell you something. When I visited the Forever Hollywood Cemetery and serendipitously met the president of the cemetery, he took me under his wing and gave me the grand tour. It was awesome. I was there for several hours.
If you went to bed early last night, we'll fill you in on what you missed. The fourth quarter to remember for the Boston Celtics. We'll do that next here, 9 o'clock hour, and Darnell Hillman's joining us at 9:45, right, Jake? Darnell Hillman will round things out. Fun event up at the Bottle Shoppe this weekend. A great story with that. So we'll do that in the 9 o'clock hour. Kevin and Query on a gorgeous Friday morning.
Everybody needs a man cave.
Ours just happens to be a little bigger than most.
All right. Let's not go there. Let's just invite them to our place.
We're getting together for a night in the fan cave, brought to you by Forum Credit Union on June 23rd. We'll chat about sports, tell lies, and talk smack.
We'll start the evening down in the Larceny Lounge with munchies, beer, and plenty of Larceny and Evan Williams bourbon.
This is going to be a heck of a party and a show rolled into one.
Tickets are on sale now at 1075thefan.com.
This Sunday, the streets of Belle Isle, the IndyCar Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan at 3 p.m. Coverage brought to you by the Speedrome and Circle City Raceway.
Spectrum is America's leading internet provider, delivering ultra-fast gig speeds you need on the high-performance network you want. And Spectrum's advanced home Wi-Fi is security made simple, automatically blocking outside threats, along with 99.9% network reliability. So no matter what you do online, you can do it faster, safer, and more reliably with Spectrum Internet. Get 200 megabits per second for only $49.99 a month. Visit Spectrum.com today for details. Based on internet subscribers among top internet service providers. Restrictions apply.
Start a new career with a job that keeps your community safe. The Marion County Sheriff, Carrie Forrestal, is hiring detention deputies to work in the brand new Community Justice Center. You'll supervise and guard offenders, making Marion County a better place to live. Starting pay begins at around $40,000 a year with a $5,000 signing bonus. Enjoy great benefits like complete health coverage and pension plan. Start your career as a detention deputy and earn the respect of your community. Apply today at joinmcso.indy.gov.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
Clogged drain, putting a damper on your day? Call the experts at LD Smith Plumbing. Not only are we water's boss, we are the masters of muck, the sleuths of the sludge. We'll sniff out the clog and snuff it out at the source. Plumbing may not be pretty, but we're pretty darn good at it. Call today to schedule your $83 drain clearing, guaranteed to work, or it's free.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB, WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis. Your home for the 2022 NBA playoffs and the NBA Finals. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Kevin and Query.
We'll have some classes at times.
Hey, we're calling the plays, all right?
Hey, we gotta run the ball.
Watch. We'll run the ball.
Can we run it down there?
Just play.
We run it down.
Yeah, Jeff. We will. All right, when we call pass plays, block.
On 93.5
Boom, baby.
and 107.5 The Fan.
If you went to bed early last night, I was probably a bucket or two away from doing the same there in the third quarter when Golden State got up 15. But the Boston Celtics outscore the Warriors 40-16 in the fourth quarter. I believe I saw that was the largest single quarter margin. Was it in playoff history?
You mean in terms of
24 points in the fourth quarter. Boston outscored Golden State.
Win is the largest win.
Yeah.
That may be right.
It was incredible to watch. It was
that would
Jason
have to be in
Tatum.
finals history, right?
Yeah, maybe it was finals history. It was Jason Tatum struggling big time shooting the basketball.
Struggling.
All of a sudden, Al Horford and Derek White took over there in the fourth quarter. It was one of those things where I don't know. I don't have really much rooting interest in this series. I'm just looking for entertainment. And so when Boston made that first run, I'm like, all right, here we go. And then they keep on hitting shot after shot. I'm like, whoa, slow down. I want like a back and forth here in this fourth quarter if I'm going to stay up for it. I did not envision Juwan Morgan and Joey Hauser dribbling out the ball to end the game for Boston, and both teams emptying their bench.
I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
Very easy to look at a game one of an NBA Finals and get kind of overly giddy if you are, Boston. But oftentimes the first game kind of sets a false pretense on what's about to come. Like, it would not surprise me. I do think Boston's going to win the series, but there have been times, maybe not in the finals, but there have been other series where game one goes to the road team. And you're like, whoa, and then boom, they end up losing the series 4-1 or 3-2. in a 5-game 3-1 back in the day, that kind of thing. I think if you're going to steal one, game one is oftentimes the one to do it.
But again, we just don't see that very often in the finals. First time that game one has been won by the road team since 2013. Ironically enough, the previous time before that was 2004. Both of those cases, the Pacers made the Eastern Conference Finals in those years. If you're a Celtics fan, aren't you still feeling like, all right, Derek White and Al Horford are probably not going to do that again, but Jason Tatum's not going to go 3-17 again?
You totally agree with that. I mean, they stole one kind of, right? Because on a night like that, I mean, here's the thing. If you're Golden State where you're discouraged, Steph Curry has a great game. Jason Tatum does not, and you still lose, right?
I think what is extra discouraging is if you're going to sit there at the start of the series, you're going to say, hey, one game you're going to have Al Horford and Derek White hit 10 threes in a game. You expect that to happen in Boston. But when the 4 and 5 option, where everyone will call Derek White and Al Horford, when they do it on the road, boy, that's a bit of a dagger. I mean, you can't say game one is a dagger, but that's not something you expect. If you expect to lose your first home game all playoffs, Golden State had not lost a home game all postseason long, you're assuming Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for 70 or something crazy. But they didn't even do that. It was guys like Horford and Derek White, 2 offseason acquisitions, or I should say 1 in-season, 1 off-season, by Brad Stevens that get it done last night.
I thought one of the crazier things was Steph Curry's start to the game. That first quarter, like, oh my God, he's going crazy.
Yeah, he's going to have 70, right.
But then you looked at the box score, and you're like, well, the Warriors are only up by like a handful of points.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of told the story, too, that Steph was doing this otherworldly first quarter, and yet the Celtics were still right there.
Again, I think you're a little worried, Warriors-wise. Jordan Poole's got to give them more, certainly. But Klay Thompson, how much of an individual creator is he going to be in this series? Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you can quiet Curry, and they did that after the first quarter, to an extent, that's huge. But, man, just watching Curry and Patrick Mahomes, those two guys.
It's so funny you mentioned that. I've made the comparison to those two before.
Such a lightning rod. Lightning rod, lightning strike.
And they can just do stuff so fluidly and easily that in a way that nobody else does. You know what I mean?
I will say, Boston in that first quarter, again, I felt like they were treating Steph Curry like he was TJ McConnell.
Now, here's a dumb question for you. Did the Celtics wear like a color rush uniform last night? Am I the only one that thought that their jerseys, that their uniforms looked more like accentuated green, a richer green than more like at times kind of a darker green? Am I the only one that thought that?
Check the tent on your television, maybe?
I don't know if it was like
game one of the finals. It's color rush night here in the NBA.
You know how these teams wear. Okay,
I thought it looked very Celtic green.
You have like the city jerseys or whatever they're called.
Sure.
For the Celtics, there's no variation. They've worn the same uniforms for the entirety of their franchise.
And why would you change?
Correct.
I mean, they're brilliant.
So do they simply change? Do they simply tweak the brightness of the jersey? It looked more of a bright green than a rich green.
You sound like a Notre Dame alum on a Saturday being like, did they put an extra paint of gold on the helmets? Did the students apply too much gold on the helmets?
Did they really paint the helmets every week?
How much of the movie Rudy do you believe and how much do you not?
Oh, I don't believe any of it because Rudy himself actually, like, nobody likes him, right?
Well,
isn't that right?
No, I don't know. Sometimes with walk-ons, I'm always kind of like, do they really like the walk-ons as much as they do?
Do they really know who they are?
Well, that certainly. Can you imagine giving up your jersey for Rudy?
I just thought it was cool that the guy that was the Cleveland Indians pitcher was the head coach for the Notre Dame,
Well, and then that was one of Vince Vaughn's earliest roles. He's the running back that throws the pass. Jamie O'Hara.
Who's the brother? Who's the older brother?
Oh, he's he's someone famous too, isn't he?
He is. Hang on, I'm looking it up now. We haven't even talked about the fact that Ray Liotta passed away.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Was that last Friday?
Earlier this week, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know if we
or maybe it was last week. Yeah, it was
caught
last
up in
week.
the carb day. I mean, at this point last week, I was ready for my third beer.
You were cracking them open.
I was.
The old banquets. John Favreau, is that John Favreau?
Yeah.
Favreau, yeah.
Brett Favre's brother.
Yeah.
Favre.
Now he's big because he's doing all the Marvel movies.
Bob says yes. The helmets are painted gold every week. There you go.
Really? Okay.
Must win Golden State Sunday night.
Boy, it'd be awfully tough for them. Although, what do we learn from Miami? You can go in and win in Boston, right?
Boston 8-2 on the road in the playoffs.
That's impressive.
Golden State favored by 4.5 on Sunday. I thought that line might be a little bit closer than that.
Golden State will win game 2.
8 o'clock tip.
And they'll win by double digits.
We talked a little bit earlier. Next week, we will keep an eye on the Kenny Moore situation. Again, the mandatory minicamp for the Colts will begin on Tuesday. So this is the only part of the spring offseason program that players are required to attend. That would mean Yannick Ngakoue, who trains on his own in the offseason, would also need to be in town. Same with Kari Willis. We haven't seen him either of the 2 weeks we've been out there as well. So we'll get a look and I guess get an update on Kenny Moore and hopefully hear from Kenny Moore. Is that something that we see in this process? We haven't heard from him. Is that something his agent feels is necessary to further the story?
Do we, like Ngakoue, because he trains on his own, are there certain players that you think just kind of earned that right or benefit of the doubt? Edgerrin James comes to mind.
Yeah,
I remember Edgerrin James. There was this big mystery with Edgerrin James one of those years. He was nowhere to be found. He had come off of the knees. People thought he was going to transfer. He wasn't happy. It was just this big,
He was with Irsay last night, I saw.
Was he? I mean, I know they're super tight. But there was a lot of speculation about Edgerrin James. And so the Colts at the time were training in Terre Haute. And James arrives. And it's like, okay, he's here. He did show up. He's not holding out, whatever. And I had gone kind of in a back area behind one of the buildings where the players would move back and forth. And I bump into him, and I'm with the camera guy from Channel 6. I was at Channel 6 at the time. And I'm like, Edge, can we interview you? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, he hasn't talked to anybody yet, and it's been this shroud of secrecy about him. And he goes, but first I got to go measure my body fat. And I'll do the interview, but you got to, depending on how close you are on my body fat, but you can't go over. And I'm like, well, he hadn't worked out with the team at all. And I said, 6%. He's like, all right. So he goes in, he comes back out, and he goes, man, you were close, 4.3. I was over, and he's like, well, I'll still do the interview. And he answered like 2 questions, whatever. But I just remember thinking, like, this dude, people actually were questioning whether or not Edgerrin James was, working out. And he came back and, unbelievable. I think his workouts were legendary.
I got one thing on Edge and then one thing Ngakoue kind of Colts related. Didn't one year he took a taxi cab to Terre Haute, and when they wrote the article in the Star the next day, they mentioned the taxi cab driver's name, and they looked up just a little bit of background on him, and his license was
That is correct. That is all correct, yes.
That's epic. That's awesome.
Because, and I can't remember if maybe Edgerrin was playing off the fact that he himself had gotten a speeding ticket maybe or something like that, but he was I remember also 1 year EA Sports. I'm sorry, you had another.
No. Go ahead.
1 year EA Sports did a promotion for Madden or one of those. I think it was Madden, where they let each member of the local media play 1 quarter of Madden against an NFL player.
Oh boy, that's
and
great.
so I got to play against Edgerrin James. I remember Eric Waxler played Peyton. Eric Waxler played Peyton Manning and beat him. And Peyton Manning was like, if that airs, I'll never talk to Channel 13 again. Marvin Harrison, I think maybe like Anthony did Marvin Harrison maybe. Anyway, I got Edgerrin James. So we mic him up on a lob mic, and then Edrin's like sitting there playing the game, and he's like, hang on, and he gets up and leaves for a minute. And he comes back and sits down. Well, what he'd forgotten is he had a lob mic on, and the camera guy's rolling. So Edrin like left and went, I think, to Reggie Wayne and says, hey, man, you got to come in here. I'm getting ready to kill this dude on Madden. Y'all come watch. And the whole thing was on camera. Great. And I'm paraphrasing what he said.
Yeah, that is brilliant. One thing I'm thinking about with next week's minicamp, Jake, is, when Jim Irsay said the quote that has taken on a life of its own this offseason, all chips in, they really meant this time of year. They meant the spring period of, we want guys that, Mark, I don't know if you can find the clip. Remember the Ballard clip we played about if guys want to win, they will be here? Do you remember that? If you can somehow find that, cue that up. That was said back in January.
Was that the same as the all chips in?
It was Ballard's version of saying it. And it gets me thinking to like the Kenny Moore situation and the Ngakoue situation of when we get to next week's minicamp. I mean, if you're going to be a man of your word and you're going to be this vocal about the all chips in, those are two very important pieces that need to be here. And you're installing a new defense right now. And I think Kenny Moore is a great pro, but there is an element of, all right, man, this team has struggled out of the gate. You're supposed to be one of the pillar players. Showing up this time of year was a big ethos by this franchise back in January, February. It's time to live that out.
I mean, isn't the old saying, this is when champions are made?
Right, but I feel like the Colts took it to another level this offseason in saying that. And, Jake, when you've lost 7 straight season openers, it's about damn time, probably, that you start doing things a little bit differently. So I think that's kind of another layer to all of this about the complete total buy-in this time of year. Training camp, the fines really escalate. But I am interested to see if that is something that we see. Because, again, $93,000. $93,000. That is the 3-day fine if Kenny Moore sits out all 3 days of minicamp next week.
Did you find the Irsay quote, Mark?
Well, it's not very descriptive. We have a billion Ballard cuts, but
Ballard or Irsay?
It was Ballard back at the end of the season. It was the most demonstrative I've heard him talk about players. Ballard is a big, as is Kevin Pritchard, two guys that are extremely cognizant of, we need to cater to players, we need to create this environment. Not a lot of kind of public, let's draw a line in the sand of here's the business side of it and here's the player side of it. And that was probably the most I've ever heard Ballard publicly critical and being clearly frustrated by the lack of participation that the Colts have had in recent years.
Okay. I don't know, Kevin, because I don't cover other franchises. The only franchise that I recall, I covered the Rams. I covered the Rams during the greatest show on turf. It was interesting because when I covered them, going into their, the Kurt Warner gets hurt, Trent Green takes over. So going into that season, there was not a lot of speculation or microscope is a better word about the Rams. I mean, they were a middling franchise at best. They're in St. Louis. They were coming off of the Tony Banks era. Dick Vermeil was coach. There wasn't a lot totally interesting about them, truth be told, except for that they'd acquired Marshall Faulk and they had, Trent Green, and then he got hurt. So then talking about the Rams, once they won the Super Bowl, and a lot of their roster was plucked away, admittedly, but once they won the Super Bowl, there wasn't as much scrutiny. It was just kind of a different era, I guess. But there wasn't as much scrutiny about their OTAs. I mean, I remember covering it a little bit and going to Rams Park, but it wasn't a huge issue as to who wasn't there. So much focus was just on who was going to be the healthy quarterback. Warner became the guy. And then what do you do with Trent Green? So do you think other franchises have this much scrutiny about who is and who isn't out, or is it just because the Colts are so important within this market.
No, I think there is that. And again, Jake, I think it takes on more of an emphasis when you've had the early season struggles like the Colts have had. When you have lost so many season openers in a row now, when really you've been behind the eight ball. It's not like the Colts lose the season opener and then they win 4 of their next 5. I mean, the Colts typically are losing their season opener and then they lose, 2 of their next 3 after that, or 3 of their next 5 or something like that. And they just consistently have to play behind the eight ball. And this year's schedule, if you look at it, right out of the gate, it's the at Houston, at Jacksonville, and then your toughest stretch of the season, 3, 4, 5 of Kansas City, Tennessee, and Denver on a short week, traveling out there. If you slip up one of those first 2, Jake, you're then 1-1, and you're looking at dropping, one of those AFC South games, and then you're looking at Kansas City, Denver, and Denver. Like, it's not the gauntlet that it was last year, which had all those kind of double-digit win teams from the year before. But, man, it is just paramount to get off to a good start. And it's one of those things where you get asked so often about why do the Colts struggle early in seasons. At some point, don't you start looking at how they handle training camp and maybe even how they handle the spring and say there's got to be a trend here?
Right.
Your preparation for the season clearly is an issue when the last time you won a season opener, the quarterback on the other sideline was Terrell Pryor.
Did they go too light?
I think so.
In camp?
I think so. I remember talking to Joe Wrights about this. He was adamant that at some level you got to spar. You do. And sure, you're going to risk a little bit of injury, but you also have got to prepare your body, I think, for the wear and tear of a season like that. And I just think the Colts have not matched the opponent's intensity in many of those season openers. Scotty J is in the building. The pop quiz today. I mean, what the hell is that number 3? Gosh.
That sounds encouraging.
I mean, Scotty, why? On a Friday? Some of these names I've never even heard of.
I haven't looked at it yet. Question 3, is that a hockey question?
Yeah, Al Horford, 141 playoff games. I enjoyed listening to him afterwards with Lisa Salters. I think he's a better version of David West. You think David West is a better player? I think Horford's better.
Yeah, Horford's better. Unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion.
Oh, no. Are you going to slander David West?
Yes.
Wow. Why?
I always thought David West was a...
Too gruff?
No. I think David West was... Because he was a great player. And I think a nice guy. I don't think David West commanded and demanded and got the glue-like respect from his locker room like people think. I think he was a lot of sizzle and not much steak. Sorry for saying that. It's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's totally fair.
Time for the morning check down?
Let's do it.
The morning checkdown. Brought to you by QC Kinetics, relieving your joint pain at QCkinetics.com on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You just heard us talking a lot about it. Boston 120-108 over the Golden State Warriors last night. That means now that Boston has a 1-love lead, despite the fact that Steph Curry had 34 and Jason Tatum was just 3 of 17 from the floor. Question for the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, is simple. Steve, what happened?
Thought we had a couple turnovers, a couple bad possessions offensively, and they just pounced. They took advantage of every opportunity. They moved the ball well, and like I said, you make 5-6 threes in a row in the fourth quarter. Then that's tough to overcome. So, we'll watch the tape and learn from it and see what we can do better. My gut reaction, just what I just witnessed, was they just came in, played a hell of a fourth quarter, and you got to give them credit. And it's pretty much As simple as that.
Again, that's an understatement. A hell of a fourth quarter is putting it lightly. I thought those would be on the pop quiz, but I don't see it on there. Jake, the 21 points for Steph Curry in a quarter, the most in the playoffs since who?
Say that one more time.
21 last night for Steph in the opening quarter, the most in one quarter for a player since who?
I'm going to go with Dwayne Wade. You mean in the finals?
In the playoffs.
Ooh, there has to have been somebody recently, right?
Dwayne Wade's a great pick.
Jamal Murray.
Oh, man.
Mark, you got to guess?
I thought you were going to go TJ Warren in the bubble or something like that.
That would have been a good guess, too.
Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett's a little bit further back. I was 4 years old. Michael Jordan against the Suns in 93. 24 points in the fourth quarter of a finals game.
No, wait a minute. You said 21 in the fourth?
24, I believe, in the fourth for Jordan.
Because, and that was in what year?
93.
I mean, Reggie had 25 in a quarter.
Playoffs?
Yeah. He had 25 points in the fourth quarter in Game 5 against the Knicks.
Maybe it is a finals game.
It's got to be the finals. Yeah. Reggie had 25 in the fourth in 94, in Game 5, in the 39-point game, the choke game.
Yeah, okay, so maybe it is in the finals there. So, Steph, 21, not enough for the Warriors. Major League Baseball, the Reds get back to their winning ways at home. The Cubs over the Cardinals there. What's up for the Cubs? Like 3 or 4, 4 or 5,
something like that, yeah. Anytime you beat the Cardinals, it should be counting as like 5 wins.
And that's true.
I feel like the Reds fans are like, yeah.
They got the best fans in baseball, Mark.
No, that's BS. They do not.
They cheer bunts in St. Louis because they understand the game.
In their cutoff shorts and their Timberland boots.
They all stand around at Ted Drew's talking about what a wonderful sacrifice bunt that was.
They got nothing else to do in St. Louis. That's why.
I have been to Ted Drew's time or two. Tigers over the Twins 3-2. White Sox lose to the Blue Jays 8-3. You said the Storm Chasers got the best of the Indians?
They did. Yeah, they found the storm. Found the storm indeed. IndyCar this weekend, by the way, Sunday, going to be at Belle Isle. That is a 3 o'clock start, green flag. You can hear it right here on this radio station. Right, Scotty? Going to be on the Fan? Scotty says, yes, that is correct. Last year, Pata O'Ward picked up a win in Belle Isle. We'll see if that holds true. Just one race, though. It is Sunday. NASCAR is going to be at the Enjoy Illinois 300. That also takes place 3:30 on Sunday from Gateway, which is technically St. Louis, but right on the other side, on the Illinois side. And don't forget, folks, there is a lot of racing coming up over the next few days at Indy's 2 racing destinations, the Indianapolis Speedrome and Circle City Raceway. This Saturday night, it's the Tom Wood Group Indianapolis Speedrome, powered by Lincoln Tech, the crazy and wild Saturday night, the craziest of the year, as a matter of fact. If there's going to be a Saturday night to beat the Speedrome, it's this Saturday night because it's the return of the school bus figure 8 racing, an insane trailer figure 8 race, all capped off by the carnage of a Speedrome demo derby and a full night of racing on the historic 5th Mile Oval. The location information, ticket prices, and more is available. Speedrome, by the way, is on the southeast side at speedrome.com. And don't forget, coming up this week, Wednesday, June 8th, at Indy's Dirt Track. People love racing on dirt. That is the grassroots, if you will, of racing. Circle City Raceway's return to host the second Indy Midget Week event and its history, and the return of USAC, the NOS National Midget Series, the NOS National Midget Series taking on the quarter-mile bull ring, plus the Jonathan Bird's 410 non-winged sprint cars will be playing in the dirt. For more information, that's a ton of dirt track racing at Circle City Raceway at the Marion County Fairgrounds. You can find out their information, schedule, all of it, at CircleCityRaceway.com. Both the Speedrome and Circle City Raceway, this is what I love about it. Family-friendly racing action. It's important to them that your kids are going to be able to come out with you, enjoy racing, and be able to do so while enjoying free parking, great food, and outrageous fun. It's a perfect evening of entertainment in the summertime. You think summer, you think racing. You think racing in the summertime, you think dirt. You think summertime, you think fairgrounds. No worries. Marion County Fairgrounds, Circle City Raceway. See how it works? Indianapolis Speedrome on the south side as well. Again, CircleCityRaceway.com and IndianapolisSpeedrome.com.
Let's go to Vegas, Colts fans, with BullseyeEventGroup.com. Private air charter and a direct flight with a 2-night weekend travel package at Caesars Palace. It's Vegas, baby. Get your spot now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
Follow The Fan on social media. The Fan is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Like and follow The Fan to stay up to date on all of our giveaways and all things sports.
You need a lawn care pro and a pest control pro. You can have both in one guy. You. DoMyOwn.com will help you get there with pro products, pro knowledge, and pro support. DoMyOwn.com for the pro in you.
This is a call to the self-starters, to the self-made, and the self-sufficient. It's time to declare a new kind of independence. Because Edelman Financial Engines is here to provide tailored investment solutions for your kind of wealthy. You should expect more from your wealth advisors. Our investment management approach is based on Nobel Prize-winning research, and our planners don't sell products to earn commissions. And because we're here for those who question the answers, we model more than 38,000 securities so we can better stress test your portfolio through thousands of scenarios. So no matter where you're going next, see what we can build for you. Call 888-899-4450. That's 888-899-4450. Or visit efewealthplanners.com to get your complimentary financial plan. Edelman Financial Engines, built for those who built themselves.
Celebrate Sullivan Hardware and Garden's 68th anniversary this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with store-wide savings. Hey, Pat Sullivan here. What began with nuts and bolts has grown to include garden centers, patio furniture, grills, Allisonville Home and Garden by Sullivan and Fishers, which will also be celebrating. Wouldn't you just love a big green egg? During our 68th anniversary, we'll include, yeah, you guessed it, $68 in accessories free. Check out the specials on our patio furniture like all-weather wicker, Berlin Gardens poly, cast aluminum teak, and more. We specialize in excellent quality mid-price patio furniture, all sale priced at 30% off. Pick up your anniversary balloon at the register as everyone wins with savings from 10 to, yes, 68% off all gift and garden merchandise. Shop, play, experience. Spring with Sullivan's. 71st and Keystone, 49th and Penn, Cicero, and Allisonville Home and Garden by Sullivan in Fishers.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains. Co-owner Beth Rovazzini shares 5 things experts in the industry know, but you as a new homeowner may not.
Filter changes are mandatory. Maintenance is necessary. Airflow inside and out is important. Proper humidity is essential. And do not block your registers.
Trust the professionals in the big black trucks at bplusw.com. B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Well, another 500 is in the books, so let's look at the June checklist. Colts draft? Check. Pacers didn't make the playoffs? Check. The race is over? Check. Now back to the speculation, conjecture, and rumors.
I hear Shade and Sean. I've never seen the guy other than YouTube clips.
With the 6th pick, the Indiana Pacers select.
Find out June 23rd with the NBA Draft on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
All right, it's Pop Quiz time. It is Freebie Friday, so free Jiffy Lube prize pack to our contestant today. And
Godspeed to that person.
boy,
by
that
the
is
way.
a good thing because this Pop Quiz, Scotty, man, for a Friday. You talk about double birds.
Wait, Scotty's going on vacation? Didn't you just go on vacation?
No, I haven't been on vacation since February.
Well, that's just going on vacation to me. That was only what? I mean, how long ago was that?
Jake, he's been here for how
4
many
months ago? This guy gets a vacation every 4 months?
He's been here for how many years? You know, well-deserved time off.
I guess.
Well-deserved time off there. All right, number 1 through 8 for today's Bleep You Pop Quiz.
Pick a number.
I'll go with 4.
Kirk.
Oh, hey, great.
Hey, Kirk. You seem surprised.
Yes, it is. I had to call. The continued disdain for Cardinals fans by Jake just made me call.
Oh, boy. Well, a lot of hints probably coming your
Are you
way.
a Cardinals fan,
from
Kirk?
Jake.
Of course. I grew up there.
Actually, I don't have a disdain for the Cardinals at all. I got a kick out of it when I was working there, though.
Is it jealousy?
I think I told you. No, I thought this was funny. I thought, and I'm sure, Kirk, I absolutely recognize that Indianapolis is in this would be the same way for someone like yourself.
Yeah.
But the high percentage of people in St. Louis that have never lived anywhere but St. Louis, which is obviously applicable in Indianapolis, I get it. But I remember one time they're like, you need to get some T-Ravs. Everybody knows about them from St. Louis. And I'm like, well, I'm not from here. I've never heard of what are T-Ravs. Well, I mean, everybody knows they're a St. Louis thing. Nobody outside of Indianapolis, outside of St. Louis knows that. I'm from Indianapolis. I've never heard of T-Ravs. Well, everybody knows it. And I'm like, okay, you know more. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like everything was.
I don't even know what that is.
Toasted raviolis?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Toasted ravioli. Yes, absolutely.
Come on, Jake.
I never heard it called T-Ravs, I guess. So.
And Ted Drew's just tastes like a Dairy Queen Blizzard. It's good.
Yeah, it's overrated.
It is. See, we agree on something, Kirk.
Look at this.
All right.
Mending relationships right here.
Question number one for you. Kirk, Celtics head coach Ime Udoka, I hope I said that correctly, is looking to win an NBA championship in his first season as a head coach. Who was the last coach to win the title in his first season? Was it Steve Kerr, Tyronn Lue, Nick Nurse, or Paul Westhead? I will tell you, it's Florence Nightingale's favorite coach.
Man, that's really I don't know. Steve Kerr.
Okay.
I don't know Florence Nightingale very well.
My sister-in-laws are in this profession, Jake. Admire them greatly, certainly for past couple years especially. Okay, number two. Al Horford's string of 141 playoff games without an appearance in the NBA Finals came to an end last night with his 26-point effort in Boston's Game 1 win. Who now holds the record for most playoff games played without appearing in the finals? Ironically enough, I think a former teammate of Mr. Horford. Chris Paul, Derek McKee, Dan Marley, or Paul Millsap?
Millsap.
Okay.
Nice.
Question 3. The Philadelphia Warriors won the first NBA championship in 1947 when the league was known as the Basketball Association of America. Who did they defeat, who, by the way, all came without dates, in the 1947 finals? The Chicago Stags, the Pittsburgh Ironmen, the St. Louis Bombers, or the Cleveland Rebels?
The Chicago Stags. That's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually decent by Jake there. Basketball Association of America. They really changed the name eventually to get to the NBA. On this day in 1978, the Phillies, this Philadelphia Phillies infielder became the first player in Major League history to hit 2 pinch-hit grand slams in the same season. Later, he would lead a team to the World Series as a manager. Bobby Valentine, Jim Fergosi, Davey Johnson, or Clint Hurdle?
For the Phillies in 78, you said?
Yep, Phillies infielder in 78, later led a team to the World Series as a manager. Valentine, Fergosi, Davey Johnson, or Clint Hurdle?
Well, I'll go Fergosi.
Fergosi?
Yeah.
Sure.
No. How about Valentine?
You sure?
Clint Hurdle.
Oh, jeez. Kirk, man. At some point, we just got to move on, man.
I called on Freebie Friday for a reason.
Hell yeah. All right, last question. There are 2 teams in Major League Baseball that have never won a divisional crown. However, both have made the World Series as a wild card. Name one of the 2.
Can you repeat that again?
2 teams in Major League Baseball have never won a divisional title, but both have made the World Series as wild cards. I think Clint Hurdle managed one of them, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, he managed Pittsburgh right now. Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He went with Pittsburgh?
Yep.
Okay. All right. This was brutal. Luckily, Kirk, stay on the line here. You will get a free Jiffy Lube prize pack. Well, it's just difficult.
Kirk, do you like Emo's Pizza? Just out of curiosity, Kirk, do you like Emo's Pizza?
It's good every once in a while.
Are you a Budweiser guy?
More Bud Light. I was Bush growing up.
Wow.
Growing up. Around what age?
Yeah, 13 and 14. Yeah.
That's about right there. Okay, question number 1. By the way, I don't mean for him. I'm just saying in St. Louis, that was the deal. Question number 1. Celtics head coach Ime Udoka is looking to win an NBA title in his first season. Who is the last coach to win the title in his first season as an NBA head coach? Florence Nightingale, of course, was well known as a nurse. The correct answer was Nick Nurse.
You blew it!
Stay on the line. Paul Millsap.
You don't get to come back tomorrow. You don't even get a lousy copy of our home game.
Chicago Stags.
You're a complete loser.
Davey Johnson was the correct answer on number 4, and it was the Colorado Rockies and the Miami Marlins.
Ime Udoka is a big dude.
He is.
I don't remember him as a player.
That's the thing that's interesting is I have no recollection of him as a player. But like when Sam Mitchell was coaching the Raptors, unless people were like fans of the Pacers, how many people do you think remembered the playing career of Sam Mitchell?
Ime Udoka played...
Or Darvin Ham.
I was going to say the Spurs and the Kings. I guess the Knicks. I guess he played a couple stops.
Just out of curiosity, if Darvin Ham gets fired, does he become Canned Ham?
Oh, boy. that's a Friday show joke.
I thought your Chicago Stags was decent. And
Scotty liked it. Scotty, you liked that, didn't you?
No, he's shaking his head.
Okay.
And then you
well,
try
go on vacation, buddy boy.
In my opinion, that sucked.
Thank you, Coach Moore.
Terrible.
Ime Udoka started 75 games in 2006 for what team? I would never have guessed that.
Memphis Grizzlies.
He started 75 games in NBA season for
Orlando Magic.
Hold on, we'll play our favorite game, Kevin. If they said
now this is ironic.
If we were going to go do the Golden State Warriors.
No, the irony is this. Ime Udoka interviewed for the Pacers head coaching gig here and played for Kevin Pritchard and the Portland Trailblazers.
Really?
2006 and 2007. Pritchard was there, right? I was right at the heart of Pritchard's
that's right at the heart of it. Yeah.
Wasn't he an interim at one point there? Like a coach. He was a head coach, wasn't
Pritchard?
Wasn't he an interim head coach for a minute?
Maybe.
It's interesting. All right, Darnell Hillman coming up next, Jake.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yep. Got a cool event this weekend.
I was going to say, for those that don't know, little Bottle Shoppe, ABA, kind of an Indy story
50
here.
years ago, the Indiana Pacers won the ABA title. Darnell Hillman was a rookie on that team. We'll talk about that. But also, he is going to be at the Bottle Shoppe, 49th and College this weekend. More shirts to sell. We'll explain exactly what we mean by that next.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Pine Grove Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Pine Grove Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 317-552-1111. That's 317-552-1111. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Pine Grove Medical Clinic now. 317-552-1111.
Circle K is America's thirst stop. And yours, especially when the weather gets... and you need to stay refreshed on the go with ice-cold Circle K favorites like freshly ground iced coffee, Froster, Polar Pop Cup, and more. Think of it as the ultimate thirst-quenching, totally rehydrating summer splash zone. When life's go, 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 make us your first stop. Because Circle K is America's thirst stop.
Sunny day. You'll be on Cloud 9 this summer with a spectacular offer from Diamonds Direct. Right now, for a limited time, you can make any purchase and take advantage of 0% interest financing for 5 years. It's our most popular offer ever. How about that $6,000 designer ring for just $100 a month? Fine jewelry has never been more affordable. But hurry, this is a limited time offer. 5 years, 0 interest on anything and everything. Only at Diamonds Direct. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com. On approved credit.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I am mad at myself because I meant to bring in my Bottle Shoppe Darnell Hillman shirt to show on the YouTube channel. But the story there is that Darnell Hillman was in a dunk contest, I believe, and it was just after he had been traded from the Pacers. But he played on a softball team for the Bottle Shoppe, sponsored by the Bottle Shoppe at 49th in college. And they basically said, like, hey, you know, you've been traded from the Pacers to the New Jersey Nets. And he didn't have a Nets jersey yet, and so they said, you got to wear something. So he did the dunk contest in a blue and yellow shirt that just said Bottle Shoppe. It was basically a softball league jersey, which was actually pretty cool.
That's awesome. I saw Mark Montieth, Jake, tweet out a picture of the jersey yesterday. I got to get my hands on one of those.
They're cool. They're great. And they did an event. It was over the
like good old school Pacers ABA colors.
Yeah, it was over the course of the winter when they had the first go-round of these of people buying the shirts. It was in November, I think. And they sold out. I mean, I went out there and it sold out. And so they were going to do it again. Darnell's supposed to join us here to
you imagine having
exactly
that afro?
Oh, it's the best. You kidding?
You think you could rock it? You and Chris Farkas?
Farkas probably would. I'm telling you, back in the day when we were in high school, if somebody for the Pacers in 1990 would have had that kind of hair, I absolutely. Well, Farkas got my buddy Farkas and my buddy Mike Byron. There was all the rage my senior year was when people were starting to get art shaved into their head, and Farkas got, when we all decided where we were going to college, Farkas got Bama shaved into his head, and Byron got an IU sign shaved into it. Byron was like 5'8", 130 pounds soaking wet, looked like Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block, and was walking around with a shaved head with an IU logo on it.
That'd be a weird decommitment. Change of plans.
Well, you just shave the whole thing at that point, I guess, right?
Or just let me wait 2 weeks, and I'll let it grow back on that side, and then we'll make a different one. Do you think we ever get back to real legit, like marquee stars in the dunk contest?
That's a good question because I don't know, man. I mean, today
you hear like all this Pro Bowl talk in the NFL.
I mean,
I understand why guys don't want to do it. You'd like to think the dunk contest though would be a little bit different.
I mean, there are so many.
You can't tell me at an NBA practice, Jake, LeBron, insert your star player here, is not behind the scenes doing some pretty wild dunks to wow their teammates.
No question. You know, it was so much fun, man. Back Dominique and Jordan and Larry Nance and all those guys. It was awesome. But they're also now, there's just so much more that goes into it from a liability standpoint. And, the dunk contest in itself, to me, has kind of gotten played out because guys just like, it seems as though guys have run out of creativity. There's nothing left to do. Everything's been done, right?
It is pretty amazing the ease at which those guys can pull off some of those dunks. You are right. We have seen virtually everything, but just the ease of it. I was watching behind you earlier. They had Vince Carter on, recapping Game 1. And to me, that's one of the more iconic, I don't know, maybe even sports moments of my generation is the Vince Carter dunk contest.
Well, for me, it's absolutely the Jordan dunk contest in '88.
Sure.
Taking off from the free throw line. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, for people before us, Julius Erving.
Now, Jordan does the dunk contest in '88. Did he do many others? Because '88 obviously is still. Jordan was a great player, but not, 3-time finals and then 6-time.
Jordan was involved with. There's a great photo of, I think it's the '85 dunk contest, which was here. It would have been Larry Nance, Jordan, Dominique, Spud Webb, and Terrence Stansberry was the Pacers representation.
Stansberry, I remember that name.
He did the Statue of Liberty dunk. Scotty, you remember the Statue of Liberty dunk?
Yeah, Jordan won in 87, 88.
Did we try Darnell? I think we tried Darnell, and
hey, Mark. It's Mark at the Fan.
He's watching TV.
Yeah.
Mark Montieth is going to join us instead.
Okay. Yeah, and I call him times and ring, and then with
We'll get Mark Montieth here. By the way, somebody said, hey, Jake, does Farkas have yellow eyes? That's Scott Farkas. Scott Farkas, actually, my buddy Chris Farkas has an older brother named Scott. But he unlike the guy in A Christmas Story, he's a nice dude. Mark Montieth joins us now on the Payless, I'll pay the Payless Liquors hotline, but it's the Bottle Shoppe, actually at 49th and College. Weird coincidence there, where Darnell Hillman's going to be. Mark, this was a huge success last time selling these shirts, right? You guys sold out in like 20 minutes.
Not probably more like an hour, but they sold out quickly. You contributed to that cause, and it was, nobody really knew what the interest would be in this old softball jersey, but it kind of speaks to the ABA. Here you have a guy winning a national dunk contest in a local liquor store's softball jersey. It was just that kind of small town thing. So people came out. So the Bottle Shoppe will host Darnell again tomorrow from 12 to 3. And as you mentioned earlier, it's 49th and College. And the ABA ball that Atlanta Sports sells is a really good quality replica ball, will be available as well. So Darnell will be there from 12 to 3, signing shirts or balls or whatever people want. And hopefully get another good turnout.
And go ahead, Kevin.
I was just saying, can you kind of remind us the whole timeline of the trade for Darnell and how it came about that he'd wear that?
Yeah, Darnell was traded from the Pacers to the Nets like 4 days after the season ended in 1976-77. And the slam dunk contest had gone on throughout the course of that season. It wasn't like they do it now all in one day. They would have head-to-head matchups through the course of the season. And I am guilty of being somewhat misleading on this. Darnell wore, he had a deal with Adidas. So when he dunked, he wore this Adidas shirt because they were paying him money for that. And then he wore the softball jersey as a warm-up. There's a video on YouTube. You could check it out, 1977 dunk contest, where Darnell wins the contest at halftime of the Blazers and Sixers championship game in the NBA Finals in 77. And he's being interviewed by Don Criqui, and he's putting on the Bottle Shoppe warm-up as they're talking. So he didn't dunk in the Bottle Shoppe shirt, but he wore it as a warm-up. So he probably would have worn those anyway, had there been a trade or not, because he was kind of utilizing his sponsorship by Adidas in that case.
Mark, this is also the 50-year mark of the Pacers, I believe, second ABA title, but the first for Darnell Hillman. He was a rookie on that team. Again, Darnell Hillman going to be there tomorrow from 12 until 3. If you'd like to get one of the Bottle Shoppe shirts, get it signed, or an ABA basketball. Part of those proceeds, I believe, am I correct that some of that goes to charity, Mark?
Yeah, Dropping Dimes is a foundation started here locally that kind of helps out former ABA players who need a hand, medical assistance. They've bought tombstones for former players, that kind of thing. So they do a great job. It's a legit charity, and that's where the proceeds go. And
that 50 years ago team, the Pacers team, was obviously successful in winning a title, but at the same time, there was some turmoil among the way, right?
Yeah, I wrote about that team for the Indianapolis Business Journal a couple of weeks ago. It was not a happy year. Just the moral of the story is you don't have to have a team that this all loves being there and loves one another to be successful if you're good enough. And that team, they only played 8 guys through the playoffs. They had 20 playoff games. They only played 8 guys, and yet guys were really unhappy with their roles. Rick Mount had expressed his frustration during the season. He came out in a New York paper during the finals against the Nets and said he wanted out. Bob Nedelicki, in a newspaper article in Iowa, said he wanted out. This is all during the finals. If you could imagine today a team being in the NBA finals and a couple players saying, I want out of here when this is over, what that would result in. But they still won the title. They got some breaks. The Nets had a couple of injuries that helped out the Pacers' cause, but they beat the Nets in 6 games in 1972 in the ABA finals. And that's when Darnell and George McGinnis were both rookies. Freddie Lewis was the MVP of that finals. His best moment probably as a professional basketball player. So it was dramatic, and that was just interesting because all through the season you read these newspaper articles locally. Slick's unhappy with him. He's yelling at him. He's changing the starting lineup all the time. Guys are unhappy with their roles. Billy Keller expressed his frustration about playing time. I mean, it was a real slog, and yet somehow they came out and won the championship in '72.
Darnell Hillman again will be at the Bottle Shoppe. I've certainly stopped in there to get some cold ones over my time in that area. 49th and College. It'll be noon to 3 tomorrow. And again, raising funds for the Dropping Dimes charity benefits former ABA players. Mark Dykton, could you retweet Mark Montieth's picture of that jersey yesterday? I think it's an awesome jersey there. Mark, any thoughts on game one? Not sure if you stayed up until the end, but always respect your basketball mind. So thoughts on game one last night?
Yeah, I did watch it. It was a great game, I thought. Dramatic. I really expected Golden State to win it. I thought, Boston, these guys haven't been in the finals, and they're coming off a dramatic series with Miami. You think if there's ever any kind of a letdown or whatever, or just not being ready for the moment, that would be it. But, man, they rallied in the fourth quarter, and I really liked their team. I would have picked Golden State, to win this series if we talked yesterday morning, but now just the way Boston attacked that game last night, they have such great balance. They have three guys who can get 20 or more any given moment, and I know Golden State has the same, but Boston just seems younger, more physical. I don't know. I really like Boston's chances now.
Well, I would think if you're if you're Golden State, you got to be a little bit discouraged over the fact that it wasn't like they lost because Steph Curry had an off night. I mean, and Jason Tatum did, right? So of the two big stars, the team that wins is the one whose star was completely off.
Yeah, Boston's thinking if Jason Tatum has his normal game, we'll be that much better. So, yeah, it'll be a good series, and I would be surprised if Boston wins game two. Obviously, if they do, it's over, but I think it's going to be a great series, but I really like what I've seen from Boston here. Their series with Miami is really weird. The road team kept winning, and there were games Boston just wasn't really there. But they went after it last night. They were down, in the third quarter. It looked like Golden State was going to walk away with it, and they just kept coming. And they have so many weapons, and you've really got to like what they got going. So, yeah, I'm leaning toward Boston now. I just think they got a lot of weapons, and they've got just a young, hungry team.
8-2 on the road, the Boston Celtics in these playoffs gave Golden State their first home defeat of the postseason last night. Mark, one more time for us tomorrow again. Give us a little bit of info on Darnell and what time everything is.
Yeah, Darnell will be at the Bottle Shoppe, which is 49th and College, a long-time locally owned business that used to sponsor softball teams. And he'll be there from 12 to 3 signing shirts, the exact replica of the shirt he wore as a warm-up in the slam dunk contest in 1977. The ABA balls will be available as well. So stop by the Bottle Shoppe from 12 to 3, and you can talk to Darnell for a while, get a shirt. I think there's got to be some enterprising softball team out there that might want to wear this as their official uniform. I'm sure some kind of group discount could be worked out, and you can recreate the softball teams that the Pacer front office and players used to play on back in the 70s.
I love that idea. That's awesome. I love that. Mark, going to be perfect weather for you guys tomorrow. We'll make sure to stop by and continue to plug it. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Mark Montieth right there joining us to talk about tomorrow's event. Again, 49th and College, Darnell Hillman there. And we retweeted on the Kevin and Query show account a picture of the jersey, which I would love to have in my closet.
Now, do I need to take orders from you guys in terms of things that you would like from Canada?
It sounds like you've already got a list, and I am legitimately excited about the ketchup chips.
Ketchup chips.
Cuban cigars.
Okay.
Be a mule for me.
Huh?
Be a mule for me.
And then, I don't know. Maybe
Tim Hortons Timbits. Go ahead, bring that back.
Well, you can get those here now, right?
Not near here.
And maybe just
Timbits are just donut holes.
Ice caps. Give me an ice cappuccino.
Like a clover off of one of the cemetery grounds. Just just a clover. Put in your pocket and bring that back. Jay Query's off to Detroit. We'll recap that on Monday. Again, Colts minicamp next week, the mandatory part of the off-season program. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the gorgeous weather. Talk to you Monday.